Hello and welcome. Campbell here from AutoDidactic with BurnEye, third eye, mind guy, science guy without the bow tie. Aye. How are you all? All right. Who have we got here? Andrea and Liz, the Iron Maiden. Hello. We thought we'd have a chat. It's a bit impromptu, but we thought we'd have a chat about giants and golden tablets and secret collections and tunnels and interesting things like that.
The My Story, the mystery out there, right? Enough of his story. Let's get to the My Story mystery of it all.
Indeed, definitely. So, where do we want to start with all this thing? I mean, basically, a lot of this, centers around like these, what are they called? Caves,
The
halls of records.
Yes, the golden tablets and the hall of records. And yes, several of them that apparently exist around the world.
And we've been hearing about these for decades. I remember hearing about these first, back at least in the 90s, if not before. And then we have the Crespi collection and all this, the emerald tablets of Thoth, whatever you want to call him, under the Great Pyramid. And back in the 20 zeros, whatever they're called, all this stuff came out about a hidden chamber found inside a mountain in Bulgaria. And that was all before we even knew about the tunnel systems and things. So
yeah, in Bucharest, I think it was. And then there's also, it even ties into the whole Mormon religion. And John Smith supposedly found himself some golden tablets too. So we'll show a little bit of that.
Exactly. And the story behind that as well is that it was basically left behind by a older civilization, isn't it, really?
Exactly.
That they were buried and they went and found them. And of course, then, after they found those tablets, what did they do? They took off to Utah and apparently built this massive temple. They had no tools. They had no anything. They said wagons. They built that temple in a couple of years. And now we know that temple goes about at least 2 stories underground. So they were miners as well.
And somehow megalithic builders too on that foundation.
Maybe that's where they were digging for the tablets, and they just dug for so long. They dug 2 stories down, went, oh, bugger it, let's just make a building out of it.
And we'll just magically have it leveled and magically have all of these massive ton blocks.
And what we'll do is we'll put doors and windows in the stories that are underground as well.
Of course. It's the only way to do it.
I think we've cracked it. I think we have cracked it. All right. So I've got an article here. So this Hall of Records in Bulgaria, was it? It's the Bucegi, Bucegi mountains. And basically the story is that the US government were using like LiDAR, basically. So they were going around mapping the whole realm with LiDAR, looking for tunnels and like hidden chambers underground. Because LiDAR, if you don't know, John Levi did a video on it a few weeks ago where he showed someone had done it on a star fort, and it showed tunnels underneath and this full star. It's cool stuff. And they found this chamber, and it says, let's go down here. In 2002, the Pentagon was running several military and geodesic programs using satellites based on the above technology. The satellite spotted a particular structure located inside the Bucegi Mountains. The satellite scan of the mountain revealed 2 major energetic blocks. The blocks were made of artificial energy. Ooh. The first was connected to a wall blocking an access tunnel. The second was huge, like a dome or hemisphere at the opposite end of the tunnel, near the center of the mountain. There you go. The people from the Pentagon couldn't understand why the tunnel turned in a sort of zigzag pattern towards the center zone of the mountain. and blah blah. Basically, they got in there and they found tables for giants. These huge, I think they were like 6 foot tall tables and 11 foot long, and they found projections, basically technology that started projecting shows to them and showing them the history and stuff. And of course, it's all been swept under. And another thing that is said to have been found is a big bowl or urn type thing of white powder.
Ooh,
guess what that might be, Bernie?
Monoatomic gold is my guess.
Exactly, monoatomic gold. And they, when they tried it, and they said basically instantly they were, getting like mind expanded or whatever you want to call that, seeing things, getting more energy, and that's what we hear, right? That's the whole shining ones. That's where that comes from, because literally they reckon these people who are eating this monoatomic gold literally started to glow after a while because they had so much energy and life force in them.
The aura radiates from them.
And of course, there's also stories that some of these chambers actually have giants in them, in cryostasis or whatever it's called. Held in cryo whatever. So I've heard one of a female that they found, and I've heard other ones, and then there's stories that they found Gilgamesh's grave, who was from the Epic of Gilgamesh, and he was a giant. I think they said he was like 27.
I've seen those ones in videos supposedly of it in Iran, I believe.
Somewhere. Yeah. It was under a riverbed or something, and they drained it and they pulled him out. And I'm not sure if I can't remember if he was. I think he was dead. I can't remember. I think it said that the body was, he might have been cryostasis too. Who knows?
It looked like it from the videos I saw. Like it was
like a skeleton. Was it? Yeah.
No, it was more than mummified. It was like they pinched his skin and it was still fleshy. It was crazy from the ones I saw.
It was like it was just And then there's another one in Afghanistan where they found a Vimana apparently that was guarded by a redhead giant, and then we've got the redhead giants from the USA with the double rows of teeth, and redhead giants everywhere, redhead mummies all throughout China. So this is this whole I find it interesting that it was probably only 5 years ago that if you went around saying there's of course there were giants, people would laugh at you, but now it's just it's undeniable, right?
It really is. And it's crazy how much of these legends and stories, even out of like the Old Testament and whatnot, that we thought were fables and just made up, and now it seems like no, that's most likely real documentation of what was happening back in those days.
Yeah, that's how they hide history, right? They tell us what was true was fantasy, and what's fantasy they tell us is true. It's like the city of Troy. That was a legend, right? Oh, it's just a legend, it's just written to to sort of tell a story, and it's a parable. And it was, until they found it.
Right? They found it in Anatolia region, I believe, on the coast or something right around there.
Yeah.
And I've got displaying here these the Mormon golden tablets here, Book of Records, and it's like that looks an awful lot like the Crespi collection too.
It does. Was that like a tiny tablet in someone's hand? Go down.
Yeah, that one was a small. It's a tiny little one, I believe. Before we went live, I saw a little article on it. It's one that is in Berlin, that is Sumerian, and I think Iraq. Yeah, here there's like a legal battle going on, trying to get it returned to Iraq.
Wow, has that got writing on it? Is that
German?
So
yeah,
that's the other side, right? Is the little people. Wow.
And
So
then
if there
there's
would, yeah, that's the
Crespies that
thing.
some are gigantic golden sheets too. And I believe this is the Book of Mormon
Yeah,
right
some of
there on these golden tablets, and that looks like some Proto-Sumerian writing as well. And it looks pretty darn close to the same one with the Crespi collections.
Mm.
And it's the fact that all over the world, people seem to be digging out these tablets of ancient writings with Proto-Sumerian, Proto-Greek, and Proto. Oh goodness, why do I always forget
Aramaic.
this one? Aramaic. Yeah, there probably is some of that too. I was thinking of the East Indian, what the
Vedic.
Maharashas are. Vedic. There we go. Proto-Vedic. All this written script, these pictographic languages that predate our oldest languages, and they all seem to be these same sort of symbol languages
Like
written
it was a
on
one
golden,
world language.
right? Like Book of Mormon right here. Look at that.
And you know, we
That
know that
looks
they've constantly
that
been
one.
attacking language.
Oh, book burnings, right? Well, why were they doing the book burnings? Who would want to really burn
a book? It's just, I don't know, right? And the great vow when they took away, what was it, 2 vows, and that's just with the English language. Once they gave us this weird language, but you listen to. I always think of the Indian language, like their words are like 15 letters long. Like that's much more intricate, much more expressive, if that's the word, language, because English is just so flawed. We don't have enough words to describe things.
And that they're all like cymatic languages where when you speak, the sound wave coming out is like a physicality that you like feel it. It's a force. It's not just these shards of sound. They're actual energy bubbles coming out of you.
It's a vibration. Who was I talking to? Was it Erica? Or we were talking to someone. I don't know. I've talked to so many people. And they were saying, that the old languages were sung. Like they were basically sung. They weren't speaking. They were singing to each other.
Exactly. Like the Indian prayers today, the East Indian prayers, it's spoken, but it's actually sung in the harmony of it. And
like choirs used to do it as well. And this is the thing, like if we get all these stories about people, singing to plants and things. And it's, if you have the word for that plant and you can match the vibration and say it into that plant, it's going to make it help, it's going to empower it, right?
Matsumoto's work. And they try to claim that these golden tablets everywhere are forgeries. And it's like, who the heck is going to go get a shit ton of gold and then stretch it out into physical sheets and plates and then learn these ancient languages and then the proto versions of them and then be able to accurately write whatever claimed forgeries of these entire books and histories in some proto language on pure gold? Get a grip.
Well, that's how you make money, right? If you've got a lump of gold, it's much better to make some false document and claim that it's real. I mean, millions of dollars in that, clearly.
Exactly, right?
But anything, that's the thing, right? They go, oh, it's false, and then they go, oh, it was deciphered. It's like, what? Oh yeah, we translated it. What? But you just said it wasn't real. That's like you said. How could it make any sense? It would just be literally if anyone did that, it'd just be random characters.
Exactly, right? Like,
and that's what I'd do, right?
You were able to decipher this random forgery.
I'd make it random as, so that all these intellectuals spent years just trying to figure out something that wasn't there. That'd be awesome. Alrighty. What have I got here? I've got some Crespi photos. You want me to show those?
Absolutely. Doc, Michael, I'm so glad you showed up. I've actually got a request for you, good sir, from the Metamartian owner, Austin. If you are in California and you yesterday were mentioning that you had a couple of extra properties, if you're renting any of them out, they would be interested in renting a room or a house off of you for the week because they're visiting LA for the Super Bowl, tickets to that private after party, and would be willing to exchange or trade for you. So please let me know how to get a hold of you, Doc, Michael, if you are interested. Sorry. Oh, there we go. That's what we're waiting for. Yeah.
It's not a giant.
So there's a giant, and that one's directly from the Crespi collection. And I believe, even though that's a black and white photo, that carving engraving is gold. And it's like, what the heck character is that holding this full-grown man like a baby? And then there's corresponding ones afterwards of a man holding what looked like that giant Sasquatch's head, but cut off, like it was a warrior that decapitated the giant Sasquatch.
Oh gosh, that's gold too. I think I've got a color photo of that, like a gold guitar. Look at the size of that guitar.
Right, exactly. Like,
and that's
we ain't playing that.
No. Yeah, I mean, Egypt, Ecuador. This was found in South America.
Right, exactly. That was found in the Crespi collection, the Kikos caves by the locals. They brought Father Crespi there. That's him. And those are Babylonian, Mesopotamian, Egyptian artifacts.
Yeah. And that's like that, that picture that we all know of from Mesopotamia of the giant holding the lion. That's, apart from being like that first picture we looked at, that's Gilgamesh. That's oh, there you go. That's a show I did on it. Yeah, so look at these, right? Look at this. Sphinxes, straight out of Mesopotamia. And that looks very Egyptian, right? It's just, definitely one world civilization of giants. This is interesting. Who's that guy who does that collection and he's got the pyramid and it glows? It's got a big eye on it. I can't remember his name. But yeah, the pyramid there. I mean, look at this.
You are talking about,
he's a German guy, I think.
Yeah, Austrian. It will come to me in 2 seconds.
I want to say Alf, but it's not Alf.
Biting my thumb as I think. This would drive me nuts.
And look, this dude's got a mitre hat on. Look at that.
Right? Like, that's a Pope hat, almost.
Yeah.
And
I mean, look what he's wearing. It's
and
not
the
that far
language.
off the Pope.
And look at the language written into the tile floors, too.
Yeah, down here.
Like, that's got to be an Atlantean from the moment I first saw that golden engraving. Parts. Why? What is this called? Man, this is driving me.
I wonder if that's original, like, Masonic apron, like.
Right? That's the first thing that went through my head when I saw that, Campbell.
Yeah, when they used to have 360 degrees, right?
Mystery Babylon right there. One of the very first priests.
I mean, this
an
is
igloo with the rabbit on top and the giraffe and
an elephant.
Deer. Yeah, the elephant, right? Like, but is that a woolly mammoth maybe, or a baby mastodon in this igloo time? Is that pre-cataclysm? this engraving is my guess on that, right? And the pyramids in the background still too.
Pyramids. Yeah.
Is that a rabbit or a kangaroo? That's a kangaroo on top. That's not a rabbit.
Oh, this.
Look at how its legs are and its hands.
Yeah, it could be.
That
They're
a
pretty
roo or
long,
no?
aren't they? I don't know. It could be. It's got like, yeah, the big sort of long feet, hasn't it? I mean, rabbits don't have legs like that. And yeah, rabbits' legs sit under them. This looks like the Loch Ness Monster, but elephants, right? These are all from South America.
So that would have to be before the floods, right? At least 12,000 years ago, if not longer, when the mastodons and the mammoths and the elephants were in the Americas.
And look at this, right? Remind you of anything with all this writing at the bottom? That's like the one that they put on the dollar bill, right?
And that is like pre-Greek, Aramaic.
God knows what that is. Yeah, very, very old. I mean, I heard that that English, or I think it was English, they created it by getting another language and just turning all the letters 90 degrees. I forgot what language where I heard that, but they've just messed. I mean, so many pyramids, right? Just messed up language so much.
And are those gray aliens? What the heck?
The hell is that?
Green man? Are those Martians?
What? He looks like the that Martian. What was that Martian that used to ride the motorbike with that song? Oh no, Frog. He was a frog, wasn't he? Crazy Frog, yeah. Oh, like the two. And always these snakes, right? Snakes of energy or whatever they are. But yeah, there's a good look at the language. I mean, so it's not that too dissimilar from now.
That's a Proto-Slavic language. I'm seeing Russian letters in that alphabet. The L there, the shish, which would be the M.
This one, yeah.
But that's also English, Spanish language like it too.
And then elephant there. I mean, and in South America, so
once again, pre-cataclysm.
Yeah. Eagle. Always the eagle symbology, right? And here's the language again. And
yeah, that one's looking like proto-ancient Greek.
Even got the twin poles here. So it's the symbolism just keeps, it was the same symbols, but obviously different meanings. It's all been inverted and twisted, and I don't know what this thing's coming out on their shoulders are. Are they snakes or something?
Right?
I mean, they've got to have been able to decipher this, right? How come we don't all know what that says?
Yeah, like the computer AI algorithms within the linguistic departments would be able to frickin' figure that out in no time. Yeah, and that's what drives me crazy these days. Klaus Donna, thank you.
Klaus Donna, yes.
That is the man.
Yes, he's got a great video out there if you haven't seen it. Again, the snakes. And this, he's got feathers, right? But this is all Egyptian. So it's like a real meld of, it's like this thing, right? It's like when they got the original society or the remnants of it and just took certain remnant or certain bits of it and said, yep, that's this culture, and we'll put these bits in this and call it that culture. But clearly they didn't clean up enough of the...
Right? They gave each culture different pieces, and then the difference between was kill because they believe this and you believe that, even though it's all from the original.
It's all, there you go, giant crown.
Right? Like, ounce of gold. Who the heck's going to be making these things unless it was to fit, and it's left over. And I believe that crown, they came from an area in Ecuador now that they've found these lost pyramids that they say were built by giants in the extreme jungle that got exposed after a landslide happened from an earthquake several years ago, and then they had these crazy rains washed aside, and there's just these giant walls that they thought were just cliffs and mountains, but no, they are intelligently constructed pyramids.
There must be so much in South America under that jungle. There you go.
Right? Yeah, there you go. One of the giant gold sheets. Like, I guarantee that was part of a book, like one page in a book.
Yeah, of a book for a giant. Gold leaf. And look in the background, you can see he's got heaps of other stuff around.
Right? It's like, we're not making pages that are made for giants to read. No, we make pages that fit into books that fit into our hands. Like,
it's like with the maps as well. They're all oversized. But why would you write in gold, right? Is there messages there for, you know, like, because if you do it in gold, it's not going to deteriorate. Is that a message for us, right? From the past to the present or the future?
Yeah, there's another one of them. Right? It's like, I think those ones might be copper, but regardless, they're all over the world. And these are just the Crespi collection. There's several different spots that they've been found and pulled out of now.
And, you know, this is probably what they started with. And then we get this story of, you know, scribes buddy with chisels hammering into rock to try and replicate this. Like, you know, they couldn't make metals when they, after the cataclysm. I mean, look at this dude. There's the snake again.
And these hats, and then it reminds me of Masonic garb, each one of them in that series that these guys are wearing with the crowns. And whatnot.
I mean, because that was probably like the priest class who would have been, or, you know, like the, you know, rulers, not that they would have been rulers as such, but and so that's what was taken over and imitated and inverted. And of course, Father Crespi's gone now, and they seized it, didn't they? They seized the collection. I think the government.
They did a whole bunch of it. Well, since he was a Roman Catholic priest, Rome seized a bunch of it before he died. Then the Ecuadorian government seized a bunch, and then because they claimed that the golden plates of the Crespi collection were fraud, they literally tossed them aside, even though they were made of gold, and then were burnt down in his church when there was a fire. But I think it's Ancient Origins website and group. They're a pretty good group. They've since gone back and looked into it a couple times and have started to recover some of them from the burnt down ashes of the old church that Crespi was at. And then in some back hall of the Ecuadorian government, because they just treated them like garbage, even though they were made of gold, because they were claimed to be fraudulent and debunked.
Okay, so this, they just left the church. I thought that they would probably steal it, melt it down into bars, and just sell it because they're, you know, just thieves. Yeah, right. So there might actually be bits of it still around. I think some of it also was saved by the locals before they sort of, I think, you know, the stories of people grabbing it and sort of going and hiding it and stuff again. Because the story is apparently, it was all from secret spots, and just over the years, because this Father Crespi was, you know, so revered, they just used to give him little gifts of all this stuff, and he ended up with this massive collection. And of course, this is all tied to big people, right? Everything's bigger. So, are you sharing?
So just sharing a little Crespi video of some of his stuff.
Oh, I've got some color. Let's update my photos.
Darn you, YouTube ads.
What was you trying to sell me? I might have wanted it. Who we got here? Doc Michael, hello. Jim, how you going? Kappa, hello. Andrea, Michael, Marcel, Binary Codes, Hippie Shake, welcome. Angela, Baby Carson, Aaron, how you going? Who else we got here?
So it's these
Someone
style right here of golden tablets that seem to be popping up all over the world. I think these ones are similar to the ones that both the Mormons had originally, as well as in Bucharest there. But they have the pictographic language in them is so advanced, and it looks really close to the Rongo language of Easter Island that are on the back of all of the big
Maui?
Yeah, the Maui.
Yeah, right.
But I will let you show the giants that you got there that most likely made it.
What the giants is what he said. I remember back in the 70s, they used to show us all this stuff and all these places, but we used to think, oh yeah, that's got nothing to do with that place, and that's got. Now you look at it, you think, of course, it's got something to do with that place. You know, there's giants here, there's giants there, and giants everywhere.
Right, and they no longer show it like they used to.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? I used to love what was it like? National Geographic, but also Leonard Nimoy used to do a lot of them.
Yeah,
and they used to go up and they'd show you everything. They'd tell you all the stuff, but of course now they can't. This is Giant Farina. I think that's a giant. I don't know, from China. Frashy China. Anyway, that's not a very good one. Giant, buildings.
Like,
giant
why would we make those for us at a time when we were starving and could barely, have a wooden hut? But we're going to make our archways and our roofs and these worship or workshop places. My goodness. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense.
Workshop. And of course, we all know about Patagonia, the region of the giants. Magellan met them. This dude, he's scared, right? He's got to have a stick to try and keep her in line. She's like, nah, dude. Don't you get out of line. I smack you about. This is Brunhilde.
What?
Brunhilde.
Like, where did these Amazon giants go? And look at her headpiece.
It's cool, right? It's so, I don't know,
demigod,
like liberty kind of demigod. Yeah, you see it in the statues everywhere and everything, and see, this is the thing, right? We see all these statues, and it's like, oh, what's that? You know, they got all these weird stuff on, but it looks like that's just how they got around. They were just showing people,
right?
Everyone was wearing crowns and bits and pieces, and
Like, can I put on one of those and transport from one cathedral to another? Because I have a feeling
exactly right. It looks like wings, and there you go. Or maybe it takes off and flies you there. Just need a chin strap.
Anode and cathode. They look just like the Ark of the Covenant, the two wings going, right?
Yeah, good point.
And then they're all depicted with those wings up, and then a giant red orb that goes between the wings or above the wings. It's like, do they open up some sort of portal?
Maybe it's a peacock. But yeah, exactly right. That's and it's a spark gap, isn't it? Between the wings. I mean, what the hell? This is definitely. What do you think? This has got to play a tune, right? With air or something. I mean, it looks like
it's
just some kind
so complex geometry, and that there's amplification and power within geometry structure and the resonance of it, that it wouldn't make sense not to have a function. It's more than just decorative expressions, that's for sure.
Exactly. And interesting color, right? That that purple kind of color that we hear a lot about. There you go. Here's another big girl.
Oh yeah.
Look. All right. And of course, these doors.
Like, it just doesn't make sense that you would make a door that big, especially when it's like, oh, it's defensive structure. Well, why would you make the target larger that you can burst through? You'd want it as small as possible. Like, it's just ridiculous.
It doesn't make sense at all. And you don't make defensive doors. You don't have a big masonry building and wooden doors, right? Put together with iron, right? Iron studs, probably. So why isn't that iron if it's defensive? And of course, a lot of these go straight into buildings, which, look where the number is.
Right?
It's just stupid, isn't it?
It makes no sense.
No sense at all. And these things are pretty cool, though, right? I mean, look at it. It's just, how would you even design that? Then this is the thing, right? How could you literally design that and give someone, the plan of what to do?
And how they claim back in the day, right? Where it's like chisels and wood, and they didn't even have nails. Like, get real. Like, I see like a plasma like field emanating out of that when I look at it. Like that taps into some ether energy or something etherical.
Yeah, look at the edge on this, and look at all these doorways as well. They're perfect alignment. These two lights over water. Right.
They must have glown back when they were working.
Yeah. Look at upside down dome.
Oh yeah.
I reckon you'd need software just to design that, like computer software.
Yeah. Right. Like, there's no skilled laborer, however skilled, is going to be able to do that by hand on the spot. Like, just carve it. It's impossible. What they claim.
This looks exactly the same as this, so it's obviously some kind of design. Yeah, which is exactly.
Or
and then to integrate it all, right? And then after that, to make sure it's architecturally, sound, engineering wise, it's just ridiculous. And I mean, this is what we see everywhere, right? Cathedrals, little people going, what the hell's going on?
The older it is, the grander and larger they seem to be when they discovered them.
Exactly. And we've got ruins everywhere, and they definitely get bigger. So even in 1,000 years ago, it could have been the same situation, but these could have been giants, but the buildings that they found were really big, because there's always been ruins, right? And look at this car. I mean, this is a car. That's a big car.
That's a very big car.
I mean, look at the size of the dude here. It looks...
And that steering wheel, it doesn't even look like he's supposed to fit in there.
No, it doesn't, right? It looks like it's built for a giant. And not to mention the size of the engine there. Look at these bloody exhaust pipes, man. Jesus.
Probably ran on steam through cold fusion.
You probably did. There you go. This guy's, hello. Let me in, Giants. Reaching up for the door handle, right?
Not even only halfway up.
So these are the big ones. Is that, oh God.
Right, like,
that just doesn't how? Looking at that.
Like, that's architecture, and that reminds me of like that famous drawing with the different staircases.
The staircases, yeah, exactly. How does that work? It's like, what the hell? Oh my God, it's spinning my head out. There you go. Well, who's that? Julius Caesar or Mark Antony?
And some baby just falling down his pants.
This. Exactly right.
With wings.
Pretty small baby.
Well,
Anyone hungry?
and what's
These
farms
came
in?
from these came from a World's Fair. These knife and fork.
Like, why? Why would they have that? It just no
It's
sense
exactly
whatsoever.
no. And there's this. I think I'm sure the story is that they made them for the fair, but I mean, yeah, it's just another thing, right? Apart from the 1,000 buildings and everything, and how would they do that? Not easy. And then we get, I mean, look, this is still standing. This one, this is in New York. Oh, Chicago. There you go, Chicago Tribune building.
Right, like,
and like this is a person. So when you I mean, look at the size of that floor.
it just doesn't make sense.
No, unless it was built by giants. And of course, lots of atlases.
Yeah.
And he's not holding up the world, he's holding up the horoscope. That's what this line is.
Mm-hmm.
It was the horoscope, and the rest, when you see them, and it's like an open ball made of iron, and I think it's showing.
And is there Mercury inside?
Probably. I saw Paul Cook's done a recent video on Mercury. I haven't seen it yet, but I mean, there's another roof. Look at that. That's out of brick. These are bricks.
What? Like, I would like to see just one company make something like that today out of brick.
I mean, because this is, you can't make it with one person. It's got to, you need more. And then if one brick's out of place, this doesn't work.
Well, the whole thing crumbles.
Yep, exactly. Just one little brick. I mean, look at this bit here. Look at that.
Like,
just to make it so difficult.
Engineering. That's just.
Look at, they've used the bricks to bloody paint pictures on the walls. It's just like, what are you doing? How? But the story is, someone just wanted to build it, and just got some peasants with chisels and said, whack that up for me. I want triangles and stuff. And they went, okay, and they did this.
Then please provide the link of people that make this on YouTube today, because
someone's saying that they can make that today. This is brick. This isn't wood. These are
with
bricks.
The hole in the middle, and look at those windows. It's all brick. That is all
brick. Yeah,
those angles, wood. Those like supports and roof, and then the hole.
Down here, all this is supporting it. I mean, you could do that with wood, and then you could overlay it to look like that. But when you're talking brick, I mean, that's a whole different story. Each one has to be cut perfectly. It's just madness. Oh, here we go.
But how do you do it without computers and rendering and lasers and power tools? That's the part that's like.
That's the part, yeah. So I doubt anyone can do it today. But even if they can, well, do it without any power tools. This girl, she looks Russian.
Right, but it's like there's all of these pictures from supposedly 1800s, right when cameras were supposedly invented, and there's like hundreds, if not thousands, of these giant people. What the heck happened to them all? Like, why aren't there that many in proportion to today's people when we have 7 billion people? If it was a genetic thing that just happened and a certain percentage gets that gigantism, why aren't there 1 in every 100 photo having a giant in them today like there were back then?
Yeah, it's like that. I don't know why these photos are mixed in with my giant photos, but they're very cool. What's his name, Hugo? The big French giant, who the cigar smoking dude that we've all seen. He was supposed to, him and his brother were giants, and the story is that the rest of their family were normal size. So, is that a cover up? Because that's the thing. If they were popping them out back then, how come they're not anymore? I mean, we still get like Shaquille O'Neal's and stuff, basketballers, but I don't know. I mean, there's still definitely giants around, but there don't seem to be as many, percentage wise. Oh, a queer fellow. That's a bit rude. Can't say that today. Among's predecessors, huge giants were 7 feet tall and had horns. One of the most
horns
remarkable
part,
scientific
though, right?
discovery. 68 of them.
There's those statues of Noah and stuff that have him with
Yeah,
horns. Some with
indeed.
lots of the Greek guys and whatnot with those horns.
Good point. Yeah, definitely. Here you have some more giants, and you can see it looks like someone's come along and done something to all the faces.
Yeah.
We're going to be told this is, oh, they were fixing it up. But, I mean, look, this guy's face is gone. All their eyes, like everyone, that apart from her, but her face is gone. And this dude looks like a cone head.
Right?
Bit of a noggin.
And on the left, too. They all have that cone head style.
So that's, the cone heads, right? Like, they clearly weren't the giants. That was another kind of human or race or whatever they were. Skeleton found of a man over 9 feet tall with an enormous skull. Maple Creek, Wisconsin, December 19, 1897. One of the 3 recently discovered mounds in this town has been opened. In it was found the skeleton of a man of gigantic size. Bone measured head to foot over 9 feet. So the mounds, right? We know all these mounds are full of giants. That's why they don't excavate them. 1908, giant skeletons found on the coast of LA. It's a hard one to read. Near Derbyshire, Jack Stonehenge of Chicago found a skeleton of a gigantic prehistoric man in Santa Monica Beach. How big was he? Don't know. So these, this was all in the newspapers. It was everywhere back in the, 1800s, early 1900s. New York Times reported discovery of a huge skeleton. Gigantic stature, about 7 feet below the surface of the ground and about 3.5 feet beneath the stratum, blah, blah, blah. I think this one was like 10 foot or something. So everywhere. Oh.
Like there's literally thousands of these articles of different giants found from before the 1900s, and now you never hear anything anywhere. But it was like public knowledge before World War I.
It was, yeah, for sure. And then we've got the stories of the Smithsonian throwing them into the ocean and stuff. And apparently some people were getting them and grinding up their bones for medicines or something. So lots of weird stuff going on, but they were clearly everywhere and still are. But I mean, look at that gate, right? I mean, and look at the ironwork in it.
Right. That's
always the lions.
That would be their house cats.
Yeah, no doubt, right? And always these scrolls. That's the same stuff we see on the buildings. Oh, Medullary. Look at, So not only were they bigger, but they clearly, they could design some cool stuff and build it. Because they didn't have money. That's the thing. When you're doing things and it's not about the bottom line, this is what you can produce, right? When people are allowed to create, and build things that are permanent rather than, we can do it for this cheap price for you. Again, the same kind of artwork, this sort of, nature, viney kind of look. Of course, the Sumerians. And this is from the tablets where they were creating man, apparently. And of course, we have the stories of, giants creating men, right? Or, humans. Cardiff giant, Winnemucca. Where's that? January 23rd, 1904. Digging gravel here today, uncovered at a depth of 12 feet, a lot of bones, part of the skeleton of a gigantic human being who must have been nearly 11 feet in height. So that's big. That's 4 feet bigger than the biggest people we have today, pretty much. Like 7 foot's pretty big today. 7.5 maybe.
Right? Like you don't hear any bigger than
I
that.
don't. I haven't heard of an 8-foot person. Yeah, you don't really hear that,
In
do
a
you?
long time.
Bones of Giant, St. Paul Minion, New York Times, 1882. The man was 60 foot in diameter, 12 foot high. Near the center were found bones of a dozen men and women mixed with the bones of various animals. Abnormally large body bones. So they're just everywhere. And of course, all the native tribes talk about giants. Unearthed at Athens in, is that Greece? I guess so. Skeletons of 2 Indians, I know. Must be Athens in the USA. Okay. Unearthed along the banks of the Hocking River at Roach's Mill. The excavation was made under a large building, of course. Skeletons were evidently those of gigantic men. Judging by the bones, they could have not have measured less than 7 feet in stature. Bones found in another mound, right? 1916. So these things were just everywhere. Giant skulls found by workers. Victoria, this is from Australia. So yeah, giants found down here as well.
Yeah, and also in South Africa there.
Yep.
With the footprints in granite, and now supposedly these mud fossiled giant pieces.
Yeah, Michael Tellinger, yep.
The stories, the legends of the Titans, and you have all these mountains that look like, Titans that are turned to stone. And for instance, Machu Picchu, even the mountain across from it, you turn it sideways and it's a giant human face.
It is. It looks like a lady, lying down on her back.
And they're all over the world. So
they are. And then we have the stories that, the trees, the giant trees that were cut down. It kind of says by angels cut down the trees, and it was during the flood, and they cut them down because all the giants climbed them to escape the flood. And now we have all these giants embedded into the ground. So who knows? And look at this art, right? Look at the size of these paintings.
Right?
Like seriously, right? Look at that one there. That's taller than this woman. They're all massive. So it's, I'd say these are old paintings painted by giants. What would be the point in making a picture this big? Because this is obviously an old world building, but we're told most people's houses, that'd be the whole wall,
right?
Unless you're in a castle, an old world building where you have these 50-foot ceilings.
Just crazy.
It's just all passed off as this is in the Vatican, I think. Is this St. Paul's Basilica? Look at this thing. It's like a 4-poster bed for a giant almost. Look at that.
That is. What else can you describe that as?
I know, right? It's just insane. And that's not talking about everything else in this place. But it's just the way they do this, right? They got these arches up going into a dome, and sided by a big arch. That's hard engineering to pull off. And they just do it everywhere.
It really is.
They just it's no problem at all. We'll just do it everywhere. More giant paintings, right? Look at the size of this one.
Right?
See, look at these people. These paintings, if they're
how would you even paint that?
Exactly. You don't need a ladder because that's 20 foot tall. If they're 5
literally,
foot,
you need 6 ladders. I'm just trying to picture one of my artistic friends trying to paint it, and it's and you couldn't have the ladder propped on it. You couldn't walk on it because you destroy it every which way. You literally need several ladders above it.
it'd need to be fully set up, like with some kind of scaffolding. But then the problem with that is, we've all seen artists, right? They have to keep standing back to get perspective, to get the full picture. So you can't have ladders in front of it. And how far would you have to go back to see the whole picture? Like with your, you know, it doesn't make sense at all. And then, of course, next to that, we have the story of all the artists were just poor, you know. So they're doing it in shacks and sheds, right? It's just dumb.
It just doesn't make sense.
It just doesn't. Wait, this is New York, isn't it? Grand Central Station, is that right? These people literally look like ants. Like,
that's just got to be a leftover remnant of an air hangar for airship.
Right? Yeah, with this, yeah, it looks like it. I mean, yeah, look at how big this space is. It looks like a hangar or something for sure. I mean, they've even painted on the ceiling, man. And look, every one of these, like look at the detail just there, right, on all of these windows. Right, that's what they did, and then what they come in and they refacade it, and everything's squared off. So I wonder what's under all this. This is clearly retrofitting. You know, they could have been really ornate round pillars for all we know.
The facades.
The facades, man. The face ad. This is, I've forgotten his name, but we've all seen this guy. I feel a bit sorry for him. He always looks sad in his photos. Poor dude. The last of the giants.
Right, the last of his kind.
Armand Brona. And see, we've got names for a lot of these people too. And this dude, like, he's a giant. Look at the size of his hand. Like, he's not, you know, one of these
size of his head. The other guy's head. He's right off.
He's a good-looking dude, man. God, it's scary coming up with him in an alley, wouldn't it? But you know, we get the thyroid giants, like what was that dude? Woodward? Oh no. From the 20s, who got he went over 8 feet, but couldn't support himself, and he was stuffed by the time he was sort of 25. But these dudes, these are in proportion. They're big, strong dudes. And of course, this, you know, a lot of the time they get short people. This dude looks like he's 5 foot probably, but you know, that puts him up at 9 foot or so.
Like
every race, every continent. World's tallest girl, 8 foot 2 inches, Dolores A. Pollard. And you know, why haven't we heard of these people? Where do they live? What do they do? Did they all die? It's obviously a genie, right? Genies are always giants.
Yes, they are.
This dude, it says up. It says go up, but I can't. And I love these ones the best.
Not even halfway up the door.
Yeah, I know. These are the best because they got other doors.
New doors
with them.
2 doors, right? The one door. No doubt, right?
It's
like
mad, right? That's just mad. Oh my! Another one. Look at the door handle is.
It's got barely reached it.
Oh, what was that one? Jeez, look at that one. He's knocking. Let me in.
That's just insane. Like, who and why?
Why? Yeah, why?
We just need 30 people to open the door.
Yeah. And again, you know, the story. These are all built because this is the USA. All built, you know, when new colony, no tech, no mines, no. You know, factories.
No money, fighting with each other and the indigenous just to survive. But hey,
let's build everything massive. He's like, yeah, man, I'm just protecting the giants. Oh, look at that for symmetry. That's pretty cool.
What? That's so crazy.
It's just insane. Getting it that perfect is ridiculous. I mean, they can't even get walls that straight today for that length. Like they literally, if you want a wall built that straight for that length, it'd cost you a fortune. Here we got some cone heads.
Mummies, yeah, giant cone head mummies right there.
All the skulls and stuff, and this is what was happening. We know, right? The tomb robbers and all this kind of stuff, tomb raiders and grave robbers, they were getting this stuff from everywhere back in the 1800s and selling it. No doubt, most of it got whipped up and put into private collections, but it was everywhere. It was just everywhere. That's the Prince of Chinese Tartary for some reason. There you go. That's on a church, on a cathedral that's said to be sort of 500 or 600 years old. I like his little air things. Look at this. Like he's got
that's from like Alien and Predator right there.
It is exactly like Alien, right? It's bizarre.
Plastic air breathing tubes from it. Like, yeah, that totally would be in the imagination of some pilgrim freaking pioneer or
exactly. How could anyone back in that time even conceptualize something like this?
Exactly, right?
Some kind of basis.
It's just wild.
It's insane, isn't it? And of course, we get all these gargoyles everywhere. These weird, bloody, creepy things. What are they, right? I mean, we start off with all this amazing architecture and all these giants and that, and then suddenly everything's covered in dudes like this. And this dude's a merman. What happened?
Definitely the facade put on afterwards, the false idol.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, is that him? This dude's a thyroid giant, which means he's got, his thyroid's basically producing growth hormone or some hormone, but they get tall. But look at his arms. I mean, you can see he's got no shoulder. They have the sort of big hips, and they end up with they just don't have the muscle structure for their skeleton, and they end up in with leg braces and all this kind of stuff, and they can't walk when they get older. But so that's and they're the sort of giants that they like to put up in front of us, But then we get these real giants. I think this dude's another French dude. There seemed to be quite a few of them in France. And of course, look well dressed. Who's making the clothes for him?
Yeah, like they all have these tailored suits back then. Like it was just standard for the giant people.
Yeah, and this is that Hugo dude. Obviously, this is a midget. But this is, I mean, you can see the size of this guy, man, next to a normal person. He's like double the size. I mean, God, what do you reckon? 250 kilos or something?
Just ridiculous, right?
He's a big boy, that one. And again, tailored clothes, right? The hat fits perfectly. Where did all these clothes come from?
And they were around and everywhere back then.
Yeah. Oh my. Of course, we've got weapons. These were found in a cache with like a lot of swords and shields and other stuff.
And it's like, why would they waste resources to make these quote-unquote Mach 1s that have no purpose when they're fighting for their lives and for survival? And like the story we're given, the resources were so scarce and so hard to come by. Like, it makes zero sense that they would make anything that wasn't practical for usage.
Including the height of door handles.
Right? Like, yeah. That's one that didn't get facaded, and
Exactly. They forgot to move those down a bit. Someone got yelled at. But I mean, that's just again. Look at that doorway, man. Look at that entranceway. That's ridiculous.
It's so crazy. Looks like it's made for a cone head.
Yeah, it does. I know, right? And just look at how intricate all this stuff is, man. It's just
That's insane.
oh, look at this. This is oh my god, look at that. See how it flutes out at the bottom? So that's actually going in there and then curving around and then see that and then popping back out. That they do everything like
laser work.
Yeah. You couldn't do that a harder way. Like, look, that's ridiculous. Like, here we go. We've got. Gee, oh my gosh.
Just the carvings in that.
It's everywhere.
And how would you work on that wood? Like, it just doesn't make sense.
No. At all. He's a big one. Joseph Dusork. German. Frankfurt, is that right? German? Russian dude.
Where did they go?
Exactly. And all these hats, right? Top hats, these things, what are they called? Beef eaters?
Were there cone heads underneath?
Cone heads. Exactly. Is that why everyone had hats? Cone heads. I mean, look at his staff or whatever it is, man. It's bigger than this dude.
Bigger than the dude. That's insane.
That's a funny gun. And they actually got a name. I can't remember what they call them, but because so many were found, they literally said, "Oh no, it's this type of gun," and it was
some sort of duck gun or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Like just stupid.
I mean, come on, that's just dumb. Giant beer barrel. You can imagine how big that is compared to that building. Another one. They love the old arm out. Haha, smell my armpit, honey.
Well, that's funny. Is Kitty saying hello?
No, that's the birds outside. No.
Birds.
Yeah, I lost it. Yeah, that were birds. Yeah, that was magpies.
Little babies crying. Got a nest.
Horns on a giant. And of course, all the what we told like the Viking helmets, right? All got horns.
But then look at the people; they're all long skulled.
Yeah, they are, right? And I've often thought, is that like a trait that was kind of bred out of us? Like we if you look at the genetic engineering sort of side, were we all cone heads, and then that's why everyone was wearing hats for so long, because they were slowly sort of breeding that
trade out
smaller brains, right? Samurai, right? And of course, we know all the original samurais were white Caucasian people with red hair.
Red hair.
Again, right?
And like, why would they waste that material making that
sword? And is it folded? Yeah, I wonder if they've tested if it's folded, like, because they fold the steel 100 times or something, don't they?
Exactly. Like, apparently it's like one of the hardest process making a legitimate samurai sword.
A proper one. They don't break because they literally
have to make like a whole new film just to smelt something that big, Like,
yeah, well, the piece of metal,
a whole new facility just to be able to make that one or two giant swords, like.
Because literally, this would have to be, I don't know, like, because if it's basically to fold this once, right? You're talking double the length, and then they bend it and they fold it and they hammer it down into one piece.
Right.
And they do that hundreds of times. So can you imagine how long the piece of metal would have to be for one of these? But I mean, again, why? It's not usable. It looks like it's been used, doesn't it? doesn't look like it's been made and just never been used because it's
And
too
there's
big.
that video of that giant walking on in pre-World War II Japan. So
yeah,
was that his sword?
exactly right. These dude Persian by the looks of it. Again, and in Persia they've still got the hats, but they're different now. They're turbans, right?
But
And
you
this dude's
can
got a top hat
definitely
on.
fit an elongated skull under both of those.
Exactly. This is what we see. And these girls got feathers on. These are sisters. They were performers, like cabaret performers. And of course, a lot of these people, they got relegated to freak shows and stuff like this guy again. You know, everyone loved him, but he just always looks so sad. That guy again. Oh, and the spark, right? The spark gap. Some people with beards turning us into something, maybe. Genetic manipulation. Now this one. Look how tall he is. And that looks like the Asian giant we just saw. This looks like the lady we saw but she had a bird on, right? But this is more wingy. And our little tin soldier. But again,
there's a whole bunch of them right there, though. That's like a class of giants amongst them.
From different regions, but all so well dressed. What do we think? That they're all like master clothes makers? I'm thinking something else.
Delegation of giants.
And of course, when you look up giants now, you get stuff like this, and this is what they do all the time. Right? You have to search and it's like El Dorado, the city of gold in South America. Disney put out a movie. Now you search for El Dorado, and you just got to troll through all this Disney stuff. And they do it all the time, so that when people are starting to look for stuff, they just end up with crap. These dudes, Afghanis, again, look at the hats. And how similar are these to the hats on the Maui of Easter Island?
That's a very good point.
Even this dude's, I think his hat's too big for him, man. I think he's got.
I was just looking at that. I was like, that's going to cover his whole face if he put that on.
That's probably a present. We got you a hat. He's like, oh, okay. Can you cut eyes in the front of it? This they apparently dug up and they toured it around the States. They put it in the height, I think. Toured
Quite
around
a famous one.
And it disappeared, and more gargoyles, right? What are these? Why? Right. Why are they on all the churches?
These sacred places of worshiping God, yet then they have gargoyles, demonic things all over them. Makes no sense.
It's just stamping their mark. Conehead, this is perspective. It's not that big, but that's what they look like. And they are not human. Oh, there's the devil. Chicago World's Fair. Again, people looking like ants. And this, again, guys, built out of paper and plaster and then knocked over, apparently.
So not paper and plaster.
Okay. This is Trump walking to his plane, and look at this dude.
Who's that, right? Apparently there's still some giants out there.
Exactly right. You can see someone's done all the perspectives on it, and this he's a big boy. And I think we've got the other photo, or maybe later. This is Hugo. This is that French dude who smokes the cigars. Two men standing in his pants.
Well, one was smiling a little bit too much.
A bit too much. Hey, where are you? I can't see their hands, man. What are they doing with their hands?
That's why he's smiling.
Yeah. And this is, I think a lot of them just literally made money just because they were giant. So this is Magellan in Patagonia. You can see the size of, all right. the English or the Spanish compared to these people. And of course, this is right down bottom of South America near Antarctica and Terra del Fuego and all that kind of stuff. More giant genies. Oh, that's the end of that one.
Blue. Why are they blue?
Exactly right. Blue, Avatar, all that kind of stuff. The blue people, the blue-eyed people in the Vedas, like Krishna and that, they're all blue.
It's like monoatomic gold might be within them and silver.
Yeah, right. Glowing, yeah. Or, silver for a blue effect. And then, of course, those who thought they ruled us love to call themselves blue bloods, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that whole thing could just be, that could just be an ego thing, right? Them just saying, yeah, we're the gods. It might have absolutely no basis. I mean, we don't know if they got blue blood. So yeah. All right, guys, how is everyone going? Kappa, the magic of paper mache. I agree. Trump is tall as well, 6 foot or more. Yes, he is. How you going, Richie? Yes, I did see your message. Sorry, I was in the middle of something. Maybe when we get through this, we'll see. He has to be coming for a chat. Fred Stone, hello. Deanne Bex, 17 Joy. Brian Evans, hello. The Unspoken Holocaust. Yep, exactly right. I know, right? Imagine how big that Holocaust was. Just running across the realm, just destroying and killing everything they could. And what, all in the name of just wiping out the past so that they could claim that they were more superior to everyone. It's just madness.
And like before World War II, in World War I, we believed in catastrophism as how things were formed. We were taught that Atlantis was our previous civilization and it was pre-flood, and that makes perfect sense to what you would see around you. Now we're given this BS idea that you only live once, we're the best we've ever been, and that nothing has ever surpassed where we are right now, which is an absolute joke, and how we will inevitably end up in another reset by believing that sort of BS.
Yeah, by following the idiots who say it. It's just so. I mean, and of course, none of this is taught. It's all, purposely kept out of the education system because you can't have people, knowing that they're powerful, right? And then anything that's unexplainable, it's just an alien, right?
Right. We
aliens came down, made all this stuff. There was just an alien art class. They just land, they do a bit of art. Oh, today we're making golden tablets. Oh, okay, everyone. And then they just take off and leave their artwork here for us to find. I think that's what happened.
Oh, it's the only possible way, right? Gotta be alien.
It's all aliens. Oh, wow. Is that from New Zealand? It's like a tiki.
These are all Klaus-Donna ones, and I believe they're also from Ecuador.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Because that's very, Maori looking.
Right. So that would be your Lemurian continent connected from Ecuador down to Micronesia, Polynesia, and Australia.
Christmas Island, Australia, and all that area.
And this is with dolerite, I believe, that these are made in. One of the mineral rocks to chip or cut or anything, and that it fractures, or it's like a sheet, like how it layers off, right? So it splinters, and that we struggle with being able to do anything like this today. This one right here, it's showing that's actually a flute.
Oh, wow, cool.
Flute. And then once again, those create the graphic like letters in them.
Oh my God, how to get to 530? Holy dooly. That looks like an engine. But yeah, all flutes, right? I mean, so they just look like they're printed, don't they? I mean, especially this wheel. And this wheel is all about life, right? It's like
Yeah,
from
the birthing cycle.
sperm and the eggs and all that, yeah, and then ends up as a baby. So that shows like the life cycle of gestation, and that's what, you know, that's apparently it's pretty old. How did they know?
Right, because you need a
It's all
microscope for
microscope.
that.
Yeah,
Then.
exactly.
Just all so fascinating.
Mm. And yes, Vivian said like a pamphlet. Yeah, Pan pipes, Pan, right? We see Pan, the goat-legged horned god, playing the pipes all the time, the Pan pipes. But and then we have the stories of like was it Saint Christopher played music, I think, and the dude, the Hamlin, the children of Hamlin, the Pied Piper, all that kind of stuff. It's always music, right? And leading, you know, people astray with it. But that's just them changing the frequency, right? That's just, it's almost a representation of going from 432 to 440. Change, you know, change the tune and play it in their pipe and freak everyone out. So I mean, everything, as far as I can tell, started off good, right? Made for the good of all, and it's all been inverted. That's why, and you know, so we've got to be careful of putting that inverted idea on the original, you know, symbol, because it's not, most of the time it's not true. That's what they want us to do. Oh, everything's evil, everything's evil. But
Right.
didn't start off that way, I don't think.
Exactly, and it's the power of perception. They try to make everything negative and make us make it negative, when in fact it was most likely positive, and it's just the parasites that want it all to go evil.
Indeed. My cat is going off.
No worries.
You can hear her. My cat,
just-
for everyone, the 22-year-old cat ran away, got out. Our roller door stopped working. It wouldn't close properly, and it got left open just enough, and she disappeared, and we thought we'd lost her. And she went about 1.5 km, walked onto the middle of a road and caused an accident between a truck and a car.
But Kitty's okay.
Walked off without a scratch. Someone grabbed her and took her to the vet, and we got her back. So she went on a bit of an adventure. So yeah.
Thankfully,
So
Kitty's okay, and hopefully, everybody's okay. That wasn't an accident.
Exactly right. Just got out,
Thank
caused
goodness.
a few $1,000s worth of damage, and ran home again. So she's all right, but she's screaming. So I'm going to just jump away for 1 minute and see.
No worries.
Food.
I'm gonna also go out for a smoke, but I'm gonna play this Klaus Donna video for the moment.
For a few minutes. All right, back soon, guys.
So for everyone, I will also post the full link in the chat here. But this is with Klaus Donna, and it's showing some of his finds from Ecuador where they're black light responsive.
Since 1997, I'm researching on out-of-place artifacts, so-called out-of-place, because they leave a lot of questions to our scientists, but they are an approval that there existed former unknown civilizations. And today I will show you pieces from one of, for me, most important collections from Ecuador, found by engineer Guillermo Sotomayor, 1984, while gold digging for a British gold digging company in Ecuador. He found in an underground tunnel, while digging, over 350 very strange artifacts. Most of them do not have any relation to any known pre-Columbian cultures. On this photo, you can see Engineer Sotomayor. Unfortunately, a few years ago, he passed away. He gave his collection to my very good friend, Herman Villamar, and he kept, and his family still keeps the artifacts because also my good friend, unfortunately, 2 years ago, he passed away. So on that picture, you can see the place where Engineer Sotomayor found these interesting artifacts. Very interesting is also that very close to that location where they found the artifacts, there is, in my opinion, one of the most healthy water from all over the world. The city close by is called La Mana in Ecuador. I started 1997 the idea and planning to do an exhibition with out-of-place artifacts to give the science the possibility to check the artifacts when we bring them to Vienna to the exhibition. The exhibition was held 2001, and I got a good friend, a museum director, and he wrote lending requests to museums worldwide to lend artifacts which are strange or very hard to explain to our exhibition, which we called Unsolved Mysteries. So when we received the answers from the museums, out of over 340 requests, we got only one artifact. So everybody of my friends, it was already 2000, meaning a little bit over 1 year before the exhibition. My friends told me it's better to cancel the reservation, but I said I never give up, and we started the first trip to Colombia and Ecuador, and further on to United States, Mexico, Africa, and Europe. And we found in a little bit over 1 year, 470 artifacts, which we presented 2001 in Vienna. So when we arrived, I got connection to Herman Villamar, and he invited us one evening to come to his house to see his collection. On that picture, you see a part of his collection, and you can imagine how happy I was when I saw these strange artifacts. I asked him if he can lend us some of these pieces, but he said he has to ask the Indy called Villamar, Luis Villamar. So he invited next evening Luis Villamar, and when he came, we had a short talk, and then I asked him if he could allow us to take some of these pieces to the exhibition. First of all, he said, no way, these artifacts are very spiritual for us. I cannot accept lending you the pieces. So I was not really disappointed, but I was very sad. And further on, we had a long talk, and good that I could speak Spanish. So suddenly he stood up and he took, this is Luis Viracocha, he took one round plate, a small round plate, and he asked one of my friends to put a small string with a small magnet directly in the center of.
The next lot of 649 jackpot is an estimated $6 million.
This spiral, and the first friend did it, and it started circling round until out of the plate. Then the second one and the third one, and this is our logo, which was planned already, which had a very similarity to this plate. So here you can see me when I was holding the small magnet directly over the spiral, and it did not move. So I was waiting around half a minute. Then but Luis told me, do it again. So I put it again over, and all my three friends, when they did it, the magnet started round, circling, but my test, it didn't move at all. And after the second trial, Luis looked at me and he turned around to Herman and he said, finally, Herman, you can lend those pieces to that man. So I was very, very happy. You see here, while I was holding the small magnet directly over that plate. Why it did not move when I did it, I have no idea, but finally, that was the solution to Luis, that he lent us the artifacts. So I start with one heavy, big rock, and on that rock, you can see the world map in carved. On the left side here, you see the map of Athanasius Kirche, where you have Atlantis on it. The second map is from Turkey, and there are several other very old maps. And on the left side here is the so-called world map stone. This is the front side. You can see here Italy, you can see here Greece, you can see here Saudi Arabia, Arabian Gulf, India, and here you have an inlay, an eye, and there is a natural quartz line going around that rock, passing Asia, passing here where Japan and Taiwan is, but here you can see one long continent which does not exist in this style today. And this is the inlay of the eye and the natural quartz line, but the world map is carved to recognize the world. This is the other side, and you can see from Europe, from the Mediterranean, the white quartz line is passing the Atlantic Ocean, and here you have one continent which does not exist in our days. That could be Atlantis or a part of Atlantis, and it looks very similar with the card of Athanasius Kirche. Then the quartz line, the natural quartz line, comes down here and ends up here. It makes a turn at the location where today is Guayaquil, the Ecuadorian city. And there is a small inlay coming up here. And here you have a round dot. And this is exactly the location of La Mana in Ecuador, the town where those artifacts were found. And then the quartz line continues and goes back to the other side. And all these markings are inlays. So on the one side, you have here, as I told you before, you have one continent down here, and you have one continent here. It goes from the Sakhalin Islands, which are now belonging to Russia, down after Taiwan. That was one continent on that map. That means this map should be quite very, very old, because in our days now you have several Japanese islands, the Sakhalin Islands, and you have Taiwan around here. And also India is longer than in nowadays. And you remember after the big tsunami 2006, they found some sunken cities on the coast of India. That means there was really also in the past the possibility or the existence of some cities in this area. For me, interessant, connected with artifacts which are coming further on. For me, very important and interesting is why there is an eye inlay exactly around the area of Jerusalem or Middle East. that might be the place where the artifacts came from. But that is just my theory. There is no confirmation from scientists until now. So here you have a pyramid with 13 steps and an inlay of an eye. You have the one inlay on the world map stone, and you have here one eye inlay in the colors lightly green and white, and 13 steps. And if you look on one US dollar note, you can see that on that is one pyramid with a shining eye. And when I showed this in the later on in some of the conferences, many people called me, I am definitely Illuminati because I show this pyramid. But I can tell you, when you look on the world stone map, you can see that that should be very, very old. And for me, this pyramid is much older than the existence of the so-called Illuminati. Here you have a close-up of the eye. And if you put the eye under black light, ultraviolet light, you can see that the eye is very shining. And I show you a small movie clip, which we did when we visited Ecuador. You can see how this eye is shining under ultraviolet or black light. When I saw that first time, my hair was standing up a little bit. I was really big surprised. And several other artifacts also, they have the same reaction when you put them under black light. On the bottom of the pyramid, you have the inlay of the Orion constellation in small gold plates, and there is an unknown writing. And there was one man, Professor Kurt Schildmann in Germany. He was the president of the German Linguistic Society, and he could, as he mentioned, not translate but decipher. He said that the meaning on the bottom of the pyramid is the Son of the Creator comes.
Wow.
This is a close-up of...
Right? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and Orion, right? And of course, in in Egypt, are the three pyramids are Orion's belt as well.
Yeah, as well as the Mexican ones there by Mexico City, and
Teotihuacan, I think it is.
I believe so. Yes, and then also some of the Chinese pyramids as well. They found.
Yeah, I've got a lot of those mapped. I should get a star map and overlap it because they definitely look like, you know, they're in like a line. I'm sure there's
I've seen one that has it, but you're probably right. You should more. And then the discovery of the Grand Canyon with the topographical map that all of the peaks there align not just with the Orion's belt, but the entire Orion constellation, all of the stars that are in that area. And there seems to be this obvious reoccurring
thing about Orion. And Orion's like a warrior dude, isn't he?
So our story goes, right? But who knows what they called it as, because it could be a shield, not a sword, or could be anything, right? But who knows?
And, well, this is the thing. It's like, you know, we get 3 stars and suddenly it's a dude, right? Or I think there's 5 stars in it, and it's a dude with legs and arms. So clearly, you know, and it's with the same with all the horoscopes, right? It's then the stars aren't pictures of what we're told they are, you know, like Leo doesn't look like a lion. So it's obviously got a lot more to do with something else, with either, I don't know, energy coming off there, or it's a stargate to a lion's world, or it's, you know,
I
it's
often
definitely
wonder if those pyramids that are aligned to these stars are Stargate.
take you there, right? That's the thing. Yeah. What a sarcophagus, you know, sarcophagi. What are, you know, what are they, right?
Well, and why did the Ark of the Covenant measurements fit exactly into the grand tomb there? Sarcophagus.
Exactly right. And that's a capacitor. It's got a spark gap. It bloody levitates and all this other stuff. And, you know, what is it?
Right. I can't wait to talk to John Hutchinson and get his story of what his remake of it, right? Because in Japan, I think that's one of the projects that he was a part of. They remade Ark of the Covenant directly and got a supercapacitor out of it.
Well, this is the thing. Why is that the first time it's been done? Like, we've literally got, it tells you how to make it. Is it in the Bible, or it might be in one of the
Old Testament
extra canon books? But is it? Yeah, the OT is. Yeah, it's, so they know how to make them. So exactly. I mean, you know, of course they're made.
How do you know that it is only the first time, right? And where did John's go?
Got to be careful too, because there's a story of they take the Ark to, I've forgotten where, it's some town, and basically they put it down and everyone files past it and has a look at it, and then they all get sick and die.
Yeah,
from radiation poisoning.
Story. Yeah, exactly.
Their hair falls out and their fingernails and
radiation.
And there was a lot of weird stuff going around in that time in that region, and now, of course, now it's all desert, right? It's all been destroyed, because we see the books and it's palm trees, and even tell you with the stories, right?
Just like Tartaria, Africa and Middle East, there was castles and rivers everywhere. When are these maps actually from? Because they're clearly not fairy tales. They're detailed cartography maps of the same geographic areas today, but there's cities, castles, and rivers everywhere.
Mountains. The North Africa
there
is covered.
And throughout Siberia and like northern Canada, Alaska, it's just these impact zone craters completely wiped out. And then off northern Russia, in what used to be called the Tartarian Sea of Tartaria, you overlay the map where the old coastline, and it's like there's a continental shelf that extends under that from the current Russian coast that matches identically. So it's like, are these Tartarian maps actually 12,000 years old, like pre-cataclysm of the Younger Dryas area?
At least before the
or Noah's
whenever the waters rose, you know. It's like Klaus was just showing that continent. Excuse me, saying Japan, you know, and Korea, and what do we find there? Yonaguni under the water. So it's all these and the other thing is, all these maps are giant size, right? Like that big one from is it 1497, the chronosphere? It's like 11 foot map or something.
Right.
So when are they from? Because it's showing us a world that, and then you know, a lot of them are the disappearing islands, right? That does my head in. You know, islands appear and disappear, so they're clearly just mixing up all the dates, and it just makes it very confusing. And here we have the headphone Indian.
And so this again, the medicine hat geoglyphs and these giant heads. Like that's the road with the oil derrick. Clear, like these are valleys and hills.
Yeah, it's a full-on mountain range.
Several faces carved into the sides.
And that road, the earplug is a road or something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a road to an oil derrick.
To an oil.
Another road by this guy with the dragon headdress. But it's that he's got the sites now around there that he goes in, and these sites he then measures. There's actual in these locations there are those numbers and arrows. Oh, is it loading? There we go. There's actual like the Nazca lines, megalithic stone lines of specific angles and distances that he then plots onto this globe. And I'm sorry, Campbell, in this virtual simulation,
Dude, you're going to trigger people.
Global map, but
Trigger warning.
when he plots it onto this, literally only 70 or 100 kilometers from where I live in Calgary, Alberta, Medicine Hat, Alberta, there has these spots with these giant megalithic stone lines that map out to Hawaii there, to the tip of the Mexican California Bay, to Mexico City itself, where those Teotihuacan.
Teotihuacan.
Yeah, Teotihuacan. And even to this new tower that was just built, supposedly built 100 years ago.
Yeah,
But
well, it looks like it, yeah.
On each, right, like that wine's like 400 years old. But
It looks like that would completely fit into, early American architecture.
And so, yeah, there's like 4 sites. He maps out each one. And
they're literally maps.
They're literally maps, all of different, what he suspects to be these territories or boundaries.
Yeah, okay.
That's where this one from Alberta there maps out, and it maps to Egypt itself too, through Europe there, tip of Greenland, goes through Mexico itself, Cuba, all the way to Hawaii. And just, it's absolutely insane.
It's bizarre. And I mean, yeah, there was definitely less ice up there back in the day. I mean, how do you carve something like that? I mean, or is it a Titan or God? We don't know.
Terraforming.
It's terraforming. I mean, and the Grand Canyon, that was
exactly
like it was dug out and mined, and that's
what this is.
Man-made, right? And we're told it was made geology, right? Over millions of years, water trickled through and made the biggest hole in the world. And then you see the river down the bottom of it. It's just this little.
Right? Like, how? Like, impossible.
It is, right? Like,
and exactly. All these square angles going up every which way on these pyramidal freaking mountains that just topographically, magically align to every single star in the Orion constellation and around it.
And they're all called Egyptian names, right?
Right? Every single seafaring empire throughout history has a temple or pyramid or amphitheater in there.
Yeah. And in the US, we have all these interesting town names like Lebanon in New Hampshire, Damascus in Maryland, Baghdad in Florida, Alexandria in Virginia, Cairo in Illinois, Palestine in Texas, Bethlehem, New Hampshire, Nazareth, Pennsylvania, Mecca, California, Jordan, New York. There's heaps of them. All Middle Eastern, Egyptian names, all throughout the USA. And I mean, they sort of, with some of them like Bethlehem and that, they say, oh, well, that was, because the Puritans came across, right? And they named everything. But what about Baghdad? Baghdad, Florida. Are you serious?
Right?
Like Cairo, Illinois. And it's the same thing we get all the time with You know, New Hampshire, New York, New Holland, New this, New Zealand, right? New. So did they just reverse it, right? And so
Yeah,
New Hampshire is actually the original Hampshire, and Hampshire is the new one.
the new old and the old new.
Yeah, just reversing them. Yeah.
And so
Because
this one, the same guy here, he's doing the Yanagooni pyramid and structure.
Yeah.
And like, I just couldn't take it. I brought this up several times in university. My geology teacher, geography, they're all just like, it's natural. It's natural.
Well,
like this staircase on these carved ascending walls on this clear pyramidal structure. You're trying to tell me
this is scientific evidence that water currents move in right angles. Come on.
And carve and erode in right angles and staircases too, right?
Yeah. I think they prefer steps. Yeah, to flatness. It helps the rising tide, right?
And so this is a pyramid that's 400 feet underwater off the tip of the Yanagooni.
400 feet. Yep, off the coast of Japan.
Yeah.
Which is right where that continent was.
Here he does those same measurements of all of those angles that are carved into those walls of this pyramid here. The exact same thing that he did with those medicine geoglyphs. And he started out at the Nazca lines, deciphering them first. And that's how he got to finding them all everywhere else and finding these old sites. So this research basically gives you the scientific evidence to verify every single ancient site that proves that we're at least pre Younger Dryas, pre-cataclysm, but most of them seem to be much, much older. And like the Bosnian pyramids, he connects to these ruins as well, like the Yanagooni here, that have to be at least one cataclysmic cycle older to be underwater, right? And that then the ones that are mapped out from there, like the Bosnian pyramids, they seem to be like 36,000 years old. He's calculating on with the other, because then he deciphers the
Sphinx,
like he does with Yanagooni here. Then he finds the ones at the Bosnian pyramids, deciphers them, and finds that the different locations they point to are so ancient that there's nothing pre 36,000 years old that appear on it, essentially. And like most of the spots are like underwater, like these wiped out spots, or
under hills,
built or something,
mountains.
Like
that.
Just
wow. And so they obviously knew about all these previous, whoever built this knew about the previous structures as well. Right. It also shows that it was all connected, right?
And this is the most fascinating part, is this Yanagooni here, what mapped out what I showed you before with the Medicine Hat site. So the underwater Japanese pyramid one exactly maps out the same territory that Japan went for and held in World War II.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, we went over that with the Rex interview.
You showed me that before. Yeah, that's ridiculous, isn't it?
So maybe at the end here, I'll play the Rex interview once we're done or whatnot, for people can show the same stuff. So we're not
How
going
can we
over.
go on for 2 hours, man? What's going on with time?
Right, just sucked in.
God, sucked in. That's what we used to say in the 80s, man. That was like a burn. Sucked in, man.
And he's showing the glyphs, so you can see it easily under the water, the straight lines and the angles that he then measured.
Yeah. And there was that good video, I think John showed it a few weeks ago, from New Earth. It's from a few years ago, and it's literally just a guy going around Google Earth and just showing all these just amazing things.
Right? There's so many. It's
so many. It's ridiculous. And yeah, I've tried to map a few of them, but yeah, it's hard to get the coordinates. It's there, but there's so much out there. It's just everywhere. It's literally everywhere. Like how we got tricked, I don't know. A lot of indoctrination.
Right? Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. All right. So how is there? I know we got here. Brian, I have read a few Hancock books in the 90s. Yep. I still like Brian Hancock. I've met him. I've got a photo with Brian. Did I say Brian? With Graham Hancock. He was awesome. He got me into all this megalithic stuff pretty much. He's also got some good like fiction books that he's written. I've read. I forgot what they're called though, but they're really cool. Debbie Brain, how you going? Always tropical parrots and lions in London. Yeah. Why there is carbon-17 coal means geological formation included a faster extent of time. Coal was made in months. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and the Cavendish banana, right? Apparently came from England. That's what they tell us. That dude, Joseph Paxton, who designed and got credit for building the Crystal Palace, which was his first design, and he was a gardener. He also designed greenhouses and apparently, invented whatever they call it, made the Cavendish banana in England, right? And then you've got the Russia where they found, what are they called, woolly mammoths, and they still had undigested food in their mouths and stomachs, and it was tropical. Right, there were buttercup and stuff and tropical plants, yeah. So it's like they were flash frozen.
Flash frozen, exactly. Once again, going towards catastrophism.
Yeah,
and even Einstein supported catastrophism, which isn't really well known.
Well, you just look around and it's fairly catastrophic. But so I think. Do we think each age is a catastrophe, or do we get a catastrophe and then a good? Because I hope we don't. But or is it a catastrophe for all?
Who knows?
Because what is it? This is the main thing, right? Is what is this? Place. What's? Because we know we're going through something now, but we also know there's a lot of people that don't see what we see, right? So it doesn't make sense that they can end up in the same place after all this is done. I just don't, see them.
Cycles repeat themselves, right?
So does some people get stuck in a lower cycle and they repeat this stuff and everything's destroyed and broken, and some people go and
some ancient Buddhist proverbs say.
So it could be catastrophic for some people, but something different for the other people.
Absolutely.
And so because we're in the catastrophic timeline, we only know about the catastrophes, but we still know about the golden age, Zep Tepi from Egypt, all this stuff, the shining ones, all the Vedic stories, people flying around in Vimanas and stuff, and and a lot of these pyramids, right, look like Vimanas, and all the Indian buildings look like, and they're even called, the bits on the top of them, they're called what are they called? Something like, very similar word to Vimana. They're called like.
Oh yeah.
Can't remember what it is though, but they're literally called Vimanas, and they look like these Vimanas, which is a ancient spaceship, airplane, flying machine.
Exactly.
From the ancient Indian Vedas, and of course, what do we get? What came out of the Vedas, but Darth Vader, right? Star Wars.
Right.
That's just a rewrite of what was going on of the Vedas. Literally, that's why there's Yoda, who's the yogi, right? Yoda. So, and Star Wars was a rewrite too. Did you know that was the stolen script? It was actually written in 1927 by another guy who never got it published or anything, and someone found it and rewrote it. And
seems to always be the story.
It is, but and the other thing is that was written originally then back in the 20s. How were people back then in like visualizing Star Wars, man? With this, with the story we're told. We're told that would have been the last thing on anyone's mind, but how could they even come up with that concept of?
Well, you look back though, there was the airship group. It was these Austrian, Prussian in Northern California that came over and were making some UFOs apparently even back then. So it's quite crazy. The breakaway civilization possibilities.
And the Schwabenland and all that kind of stuff, NASA and rocket.
Schwabenland. Glad you bring that up. Recently published on YouTube. What the main ancient alien guy?
With the hair. What's his name?
With the
but it was aliens.
No, not that guy. The other guy.
I missed that guy. I've forgotten his name. Giorgio something. But that's not the guy. The main US.
David Hatcher Childress. He just did.
Hatcher Childress. He's I can be. Yeah.
He just did an epic presentation though for Contact in the Desert that I think they just published on YouTube not too long ago. Worth checking out though. But he shows all sorts of declassified UFO pictures of the Honeyboo 1, 2, 3, and we called them the Foo Fighters during World War II classified. But it really was these UFOs that they had, probably powered by that spinning Mercury. Then you have the story of Die Glocke, and that was probably like one of their engines or something like it getting figured out. But there's all sorts of supposedly real pictures. But his presentation, he explains how they go into Antarctica afterwards, and then if you haven't, everybody I suppose that's watched this knows about Operation High Jump and Admiral Byrd there going down with the largest fleet ever after 1 year after World War II supposedly finished to Antarctica, then getting there. There's the declassified Russian videos that literally show these UFOs flying by and shooting at their ships and sinking stuff and their aircraft burning.
I'm saying that.
It's came out I think about 2008 on the internet. Declassified Russian.
Still out there?
There's literally it's a really good series, but they've got the Russian speaking it and everything talking about it, and it's a pretty good one.
Also, they've got a really good search engine, Zandex, like is the Russian Google, right? But it's completely uncensored because seriously, even just trying to do research now, it's almost impossible. You just cannot get anything out of Google. It's crap. And unfortunately, DuckDuckGo, it runs off other platforms, and it's not much good either. You just can't get
running
Zandex is if you can't find anything, try that. Is that right? It is Zandex, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's right. Yeah, ZANDEKS something. Or X.
Yandex.
Oh, Yandex. There you go, Capitalistas. Thank you, Yandex. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Who live in the Netherlands? All right. Of course. So there you go. And this is the thing. I've got Callum the other day redid his computer and went to Linux. Like it's at the point where we've got to get new systems because the old ones just aren't working anymore. Unless you want to look up, how to cut your bits off and paint rainbow flags, then there's nothing there for you.
That's the great thing about Web3 coming is.
What is that? Is this a new internet? I've heard. What is this?
It is, and that's why I love Solana so much. I've been following some of the projects there, and it's like the way it's built it's all encrypted to begin with, so that's censorship proof because whatever little shard you're on, nobody else can access because it would be essentially breaking the entire Solana or whatever blockchain you're on, crypto you're on, for them to give access the breaking code of it, right? So then it's like they'd essentially make themselves worthless. Thus, once you start streaming on a crypto network, you're completely censorship proof. And then on top of that, they're now writing in the structures of the DAO, the operational code, that it's like both the viewers, the subscribers that are watching the video, as well as the creators, then also get some actual monetization crypto payment out of the views that it then has too. So it's completely censorship resistant, as well as it's no longer paying the big corporations. It's actually going into the people that are watching and the people that are creating, and thus completely for the people, by the people, and becoming
and no tax.
And that's exactly, that's what Web3
nothing
is. That's why they've tried to keep it back for so long, is they want to control it. But it's like that's what 2022 is the unveiling of Web3, and then 2023 no doubt is Web3. So it's going to be a very interesting, amazing year, and I'm so stoked for Web3, because it's like we're gonna be like, you guys are gonna have to join our video tomorrow with one of the directors of Meta Martians, where he explains literally how they have like the cloud, but the cloud is now like going to be storing information in the physical air, where it's like you can keep your data in a cloud in like actual air next to
your bedroom or whatever, or anywhere. So like literally you can turn your house into like a server. I mean, it's full on Ethernet. Like
whatever we were afraid of
about quantum
Internet 5, whatever this one is, it's like that's
ridiculous, and it's total. Yes, like privacy. You can lock all your stuff. People can't get in there. It's going to be run by the people, not the corporations. So it's that's the thing, right? We've just got to stop funding this evil system, because that's the only reason they're still there. They need money. But I've heard a lot of people aren't paying their taxes anymore, their income taxes. I hear Australia's having issues with money, and they're not looking too brave anymore, these fat politicians.
I think I need to get like a houseboat in like Portugal or the Canary Islands or Bahamas or one of those places, right? And it's like I live on that houseboat for couple months a year, and that's where Mexico, all your things are from, and you're good to go. And everything turns
it's coming,
to
like all these restrictions and that. They're going. There was someone. Was that Mexico, man? Mexico. That's it's still free. It's still, you can fly in without any tests or anything, and straight away they'll give you a 6-month visa. Link to what? What were we talking about? I have no idea. What was that link for? Do you know?
Mixed martial arts. I'm going to put that in.
Scott asked for link auto. What link for what, Scott? Oh, there's one. Twitter. Oh, is this for the NFT stuff?
Yeah.
So we're going to go on sort of midday-ish Perth time, which is, I don't know, we're coordinating with California, Perth, and Canada.
Yeah,
so we'll be on. But if you want to know what all this NFT stuff is, and because it's more than just a silly picture that people pay $100,000 for. And that's all we hear about, right? That's what an NFT is, and that doesn't make sense. There's actually a lot more to it. So if you want to know what that all is, check out the stream tomorrow. And I'm going to be I'm recording tomorrow. Hopefully I'll get it up tomorrow night, having another chat with Kel. And we've got Dale H from Australia, and he's in Canberra. So we're going to have a chat. No doubt everyone's seen Cindy. She's going off. She's in bloody every video now that I see. She's running around yelling at someone, which is awesome. So hopefully we'll get her on too. So keep an eye out for that. Hopefully tomorrow night. I'm going to be a busy boy tomorrow. We've also got another chat with someone else. Who have I got?
Oh my!
Oh yeah, I'm doing a chat with Howdy and Sonia as well. So that should be interesting. The stoic and the remote viewer.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I recorded last night with Laura Lay. You might know. If you don't, go check out her channel. So that'll be up in the next few days as well. So this is me trying to get time off, right? God, I'm trying to move house and all this stuff, and God, I don't know how it all happens. This is how I get so much stuff out. Like I have no idea. I just end up talking to people. I don't know. It just happens.
It's all my fault, Campbell.
It's all your fault. I was having a nice, relaxing day, and Bernie says we should stream, and here I am, like 3 hours later, still talking. But at least all you very nice people have joined us. Oh, hello, Timothy Island. I've been robbed for years, and they've taken my money. Yeah, take money. Yeah, that's what they do. They pretend, right? They kind of give you a job and go, well, here's some money. Oh, but before we give it to you, we're going to take half back in tax. And by the way, when you spend the rest of it, there's going to be tax attached to the lot of it. So you're actually only getting about 20% of what you think you get. But shh. All right. It's just a mad system, right? It's just, but the reason they do that is so that they get us to sell them, stuff like land and real things, that we change this stupid fake fiat paper money into, we exchange that for real things. Amanda B says, sell fish on your boat. There you go. Maybe a few clams or oysters. I would like it. Not that I know how to sail a boat, but a houseboat would be cool on a river there where it's flat and there's no waves.
Yeah, houseboats on lakes in British Columbia is what I love.
Yeah, there's lots of lakes up there, isn't there?
There are some good ones, like the Okanagan and the Shuswap.
Oh, well, and they're in Canada.
Yes, sir.
Okinawa and Shishwa. That sounds very Japanese.
Shuswap and Okanagan, and it would be the First Nations that gave those names.
Okanagan. Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, we've got a couple of lakes in Australia, but not many. We got bombed, man. We got taken out big time.
Right? Like, what happened?
What happened in Australia and everywhere? Like, was it the plasma? The plasma apocalypse? Was it weapons, Jew weapons? Was it Samvatica fires? Right? And there's in the Vedas they talk about Samvatica fires, and they're like fires that come up from below the ground. And you can imagine if the ground got heated, that'd kill all the microorganisms or the plant life, and that'd pretty much give you a desert, wouldn't it? But it wouldn't destroy the buildings on the top, you wouldn't think.
Sodom and Gomorrah, right? That was supposedly stable until they found that place, and it looks just
exactly, yeah.
It looks like all the Badlands, like.
Yeah, it's got sulfur embedded into rock and into the buildings and stuff all around it. So, and then Jericho, knocked down the walls with trumpets. We've got all these stories. Oh no, it's just a parable, but then we find pictures from World War I of these massive tuba type things that they tell us are weapons. And I got a picture. I don't think I put it up. I'll talk about it tomorrow. In Australia, in Canberra, they've now got the police are driving around in four-wheel drives with fucking sound weapons on the roof. These big sound blaster things. Yeah, and I spoke with someone yesterday, and we were chatting, and you see it on a lot of videos. The closer you get to Parliament House, the signal just scrambles, so no one can live stream up there. You can hardly record. It just stuffs you, because it just blocks everything. So it's full on. They're showing who they are, right? They're fully attacking the people who are just peacefully protesting.
That's disgusting.
It is. So a bit off topic, but if you want to, that should be up tomorrow night. We're definitely going to have a chat. I've got people over there. I'm going to get some live streaming on. I did record, but I'm not sure if the recording is good enough to put up. So I'm going to have to talk with Jason again. And of course, I made a video. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out.
Very good video, my friend.
The one with Cindy in it. What was it called? I don't even know. Convoy to Canberra, I think it was called. But it just sort of shows how Cindy was there. You know, we were talking to her in November last year, and she was trying to get to Canberra. All you guys, we got her money to get a car, and then she went straight to Canberra, and she's been there ever since, calling for a convoy, waiting for people, doing ceremony, putting it out there, and just believing. And then what happened 2 weeks ago? Everyone turned up. So it just shows you, man. Like, I think we were all part of that, but definitely Cindy she just created that, man. She was not leaving until a convoy came. And so the universe went, oh, okay, we'll send a convoy. And look what's going on. And of course, all started in BurnEye's country, right? The Canadians. They thought it was a boot time, to throw their niceness out the window and put the politeness in the country. They're still very nice and polite, but they're standing up at least.
I have one thing to say about it all, and I have the physical evidence to prove it. And if you're the power is in the people, and I have been printing these shirts for about 15 years, so I said the power is in the people before it was cool to say the power is in the people.
It was you, Bertie. It was Bertie. Bernie started this convoy 15 years ago. He's been wearing that T-shirt until people realised that the power was in them.
It's in all of us. Definitely
in every one of us.
You.
Yeah, man. What's that song? It's in every one of us to be free. You know that song?
That's all it wants, to be free.
It wants to be free. Fine. I can't remember how it goes. Anyway, all right. So we've been going for 2 hours and 17 minutes. Right, how you going, Rachel? I have to catch up with you. I'm moving soon, so I'll maybe reaching out to anyone who wants to help me with my bus. But then I'll have some space. We can have some meetups, and there's a big meetup in Perth on Saturday. There's a convoy leaving to go to Canberra. I think it's leaving Saturday as well. So there's stuff going on. This Canberra thing's just getting started. So yeah, man, get involved.
The revolution has just begun.
Get involved, indeed. All right, so we might call it there. It looks like you've got a video to play. Yeah, if anyone wants to hang around and watch it. And
just so amazing, and love you and love the community. So I'm gonna replay part 1 and part 2 of our past interview with Rex, and we will have another one coming up with him again in about a month. I have scheduled.
Awesome, nice. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. Stay awesome. I'm going to leave, and I'll be back tomorrow. You'll got on a live stream, probably on a premiere. So until then, stay awesome, and thanks, Bernie. And we'll chat again tomorrow.
Much love, brother.
Awesome. Love you all. See ya.
Ta-ta.
This is the bit, isn't it? That confuses me. It's like, did we choose to come here to get this sorted out, or is this just seems a little unfair, doesn't it? That we seem to be here, and there's this parasite messing up our experience.
And I know in my own life, the times that I've made major changes, it was like it became more painful not to change than to change. That was when I made big changes.
It's this whole ridiculous narrative of it's an unsafe world. There's not enough for you. It's scary. Everyone's out to get you, and clearly the old civilization was completely the opposite to that. It was all about empowerment, like literally.
Cosmic resonance, I think they called that one, or
cosmic
something
resonance. That's a better name.
Real science. You can actually produce free electricity, and this is
part of what Tesla was doing, is the differential between the top of the spire to the ground actually creates an electrical differential that you then connect to another wire that goes into the ground, your grounding. Put that into the third phase in your circuit, and then you have a bell ringing circuit, and that actually produces plasma electricity out of the air. It's real technology. These things actually function producing electricity. It's crazy.
The movies are the truth and the news is the lies. They've completely flipped it.
You know, when you look at everything with new eyes and you come across information like she was born into a very wealthy family with elite connections, you know, it means something very different now to me than it would have even a few years ago. And it's our free will that they've really also messed with, because we've been lied to and we react based on lies. Just getting their independence and end up in civil wars for 20, 30 years happens a lot.
Because we keep choosing to pick up the gun and use it on ourselves instead of building and uniting and accepting that we are one people, one spirit, one harmony on one plane that together, united, can achieve anything we dream of.
So do you want to, wake up, or do you want to just keep going along because the change is too difficult?
And then give them pieces of information that they will then pursue themselves and look into, and then they'll wake themselves up.
I was going to mention it's the whole red pill, blue pill of the Matrix. I mean, that of the movie. And you can consider that movie as a documentary because they're telling us something about what's happening here. So do you want to, wake up, or do you want to just keep going along because the change is too difficult? Wake up.
You're awesome. I love you all. And now for our non-feature presentation, past presentation
project.
Past
How the heck are you?
presentation.
Super excited for today's opportunity.
This is
We've got BurnEye,
me,
the science
Cambell,
guy. I like to call him
and
Crazy Optimist.
Rex from the
And
project.
wow, some of the photos that he just shared with me about from the Grand Canyon and surrounding areas are like, I think we got a lot to talk about. I just got back from a trip to the Grand Canyon, and I went with my friends Shondell and Jared Murphy, and we uncovered some stuff out there that I haven't shared with anybody yet. Now, this was found in Marble Canyon, a ways away from where the Kincaid Cave is supposed to be. And I can't tell fully if you can actually go further into this cave, but that is an opening that's probably 4 to 8 feet. This with a serious zoom. And as you can see right here, this is a Apache helicopter that flew past us while we were at this undisclosed location. And this is minor in comparison to some of the other stuff that happened out there. So check this out. Oh, cryptos are on a tear again. They're looking fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, check out tradelikeagenius.com or go to tradegeniusacademy.com. You'll be glad you did. They're offering huge discounts on their bundled items right now. Learn how to trade the markets the same way I did. I know personally people that have seen gains in hours, myself included, but it takes some people months, even longer to experience otherwise. Whether you're into stocks or cryptos or both, there's always an opportunity regardless of market direction. That's what's so cool. And you get these trade alerts via email and text message. Take out the guessing, check out Trade Genius Academy, and get off the sidelines. You'll be glad you did. And one of the things that, one of the experiences that I had out there, actually in Page of all places, was so amazing that I don't even know if you'd believe me if I told you what happened. So we'll just leave it at that for now. Maybe in the future I'll share it, but as of right now, I don't. Dude, yes, my whole body just gets goosebumps and the hair starts going. And it took me a few days just to readjust. But dude, thanks for being guest. Great, some awesome studio / laboratory. How you doing?
Thank you. Doing very good, my friend.
Right on.
And I really loved that video that you uploaded with the sun shining through onto, was it called the Cheops Pyramid, that one or whatnot?
We got I'm not sure which one that was, but it was beautiful. It's on Navajo land. It's in an area that would take 11 days to get to via raft. If you were to take a rafting trip down there, it'd take 11 days. Should I let Cambell?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I don't know who Cambell is, but I'm going to let Cambell in. The way that we got there was we were on the top of the rim, and we were able to get a photograph and video footage. And it was like the lights that were coming down from the clouds were perfectly enveloping this majestic mountaintop that looks like a petrified temple, right? I mean, it was just beautiful. And that was a 1 in a million shot. And that was a very, very magical and majestic experience. Page was just as amazing. And anyway, yeah. So let's talk about some of the stuff you wanted to share with us, though. What are we going to be talking about today?
Okay, so first here we will I will share.
And should we say hi to Cambell first?
Yeah, we might as well let Cambell in for sure.
He's in, but Cambell, you want to unmute yourself and say hi? You've got no video either. No.
But
he unmuted for a second.
Oh, there we go. There's Otto.
Okay.
AutoDidactic.
This is the person talking about the Tartarian Empire that we're going to talk about soon.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So the first half here, we're gonna just go over some of the Badlands, the Canyon Badlands and stuff, and then the second half we will do Tartaria and whatnot. What is sharing right now? Is it my the map that's sharing?
Yes, sir.
Yep. Okay, so
hey Cambell.
Yeah, how you going, Rex? Good to finally talk to you.
You too. Yeah, man. Dude, you got the epic radio voice. Man, it's great to talk to you today. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, right on. Well, yeah, super excited. I'm sure you can incorporate some of the Tartarian Empire possibly to the Grand Canyon.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I saw some of your recent videos with pyramids and all that kind of stuff. So definitely, we know there's, Egyptian glyphs and whatnot down there. So definitely advanced recent civilization.
And Cambell, I haven't actually brought this up with you, but there's a lot of actual Egyptian sites in Australia as well that are really suppressed. You have done some work on those?
Not yet. They're basically, the main ones are in the Blue Mountains in New South Wales. They're called the Gosford Glyphs. And there's a father and son called the Strongs who have been researching it for about 20 years. And I'm talking to them next week. I'm having an interview.
Well, isn't that perfect timing, hey?
Yes. Can you guys see me, by the way? I can just see my background.
Yeah, we can only see your background.
It looks like, hang on a sec. What's going on here? One sec. I'll keep talking. I'll get this sorted.
So yeah, sure. Up here I have the old map
of
the Grand Canyon. And it's like Confucius Temple, Temple of Ra, Hindu Amphitheater, Temple of Osiris, Temple of Set. And then, of course, you have the Mojave Point, Hopi Point, Maricopa Point of the indigenous people there. But why is there a Cheops Pyramid, Isis Temple, Shiva Temple, Buddha Temple, Hiller's Butte, Zoroaster Temple, Amphitheater, Angel's Gate, Thor Temple, Vishnu Temple, Krishna Shrine, Rama Shrine, Shiva Temple, Solomon's Temple, Venus Temple, Jupiter. Like, these are all every empire that essentially was a seafaring empire from the past few thousand years has a temple in the Grand Canyon, and they look like very, very eroded pyramids, like ancient, like this is pre-Atlantis. This would have been like Lemurian, or like hundreds of thousands of years, most likely, not just 12,000 year old plasma catastrophe.
I actually would just let me jump in on that. I agree. I think that this is Atlantean. That the Grand Canyon at one point was the capital of Atlantis, and the research I've done from Atlantis and Lemurians is the Atlanteans were into a lot more technologies, and the Lemurians were a lot more with nature. So this was a global empire, and you can call it different names, but the timeline could be, as you would say, way before 12,000 years ago, way before the Younger Dryas event. But I think Atlantis goes back way before that. That's just my opinion.
I guess that's more what I meant. I fully agree with that, Rex. You stated that right. With it's before, it would have started eroding like before the 12,000 year epoch, but Atlantis probably was a couple, if not several, of the grand cycles of ages of 36,000 years, that it's like they existed probably who knows how far back, but a lot longer than the little blip that we currently are in our Western civilization.
I want to hear what you have to say about that, Cambell.
That's just amazing. It's almost like that could have been the sort of original civilization, and they've just split it all up so that we now think that it's actually 10 different civilizations where it's actually all come from the same place.
Exactly. Divide and conquer. That's what the goal has, or the technique has always been, is to get man to pick up the weapons and fight each other and create the division within ourselves instead of uniting and becoming one with ourselves, one with this planet, and one with the greater universe. And it's that until we choose to stop killing each other, that we won't be allowed off of this planet.
Yeah. And it's interesting, it's even got a grammar point, just telling us that they've changed the language on us.
Good. That's a good call.
It'd be good to look into the etymology. I mean, I was thinking before just of the word canyon. I'm not even sure where that comes from, really. But
did you know that the average adult read time is 200 to 250 words per minute? When using the amazing Chrome extension Speechify, you are literally able to nearly triple that speed. Oh, and also, studies show you are 3 times more likely to retain the information when you listen with your eyes and ears. Speechify is the ultimate reading and learning hack.
So let's say you have to read an incredibly
What are we looking at? Let's go back to that. What are you showing us, Bernie?
Okay, so this is actually right close to me in Medicine Hat, Alberta. And that's a road going up, and these are entire valleys. It's the Medicine Hat Badlands, and that's one. Here's the second one. This guy got a little famous a few years back as like the iPod Indian or something. It was like memed as, but that is a road going up to an oil derrick at the end there. And you have 1 face, 2 face, 3 face, 4 faces. And here is 5th one. This is like the Aztec Dragon King Lord is what the hat is known as. And this all comes from the Faram Foundation is where I first learned about this. And this guy's, his theory that he's discovered really rewrites all of history, and it proves all the ancient sites that are currently quote unquote debunked with unequivocal proof in he's discovered what he calls geoglyphs. And what these geoglyphs are megalithic sites or megaliths in lines, and there are a certain length and direction, and he measures the length of them and the direction, and then he plots them out on a globe, and he's found that every single geoglyph corresponds to other ancient sites around the world, so that literally you have a map from these ancient geoglyphs that tie and map empires to cut. So in Alberta, where I live, there's a site that's like Nazca, Peru, but not acknowledged, that ties to a radial of Cairo, Egypt, Britannia, France, southern tip of Ireland, Cape Romania, US, Charleston Bay, US, Mexico City, more Mexico, and the Beaufort Sea. Like, this is absolutely insane. And he's done it, and his work is so extensive that he actually goes through like Cairo, Egypt. He's found these, the Yanaguni pyramids in Japan that are underwater. He's found these, at like every Bosnian pyramids as well, where every single ancient sacred site, he's found these geoglyphs, measures them out, plots them out on the global map, and they literally tie to every other ancient sacred site in the world.
Let me ask a question. Has he checked out the geoglyphs in Blythe?
Let's see.
Let me pull those up real quick because I had a chance to go out there in Blythe. So Blythe, the Blythe geoglyphs. Blythe, let me type this in, geoglyphs, California. I've been here and I want to go back. This is off the 33rd degree parallel, and this place has a lot of similarities to the Nazca lines in Peru. The environment's very similar. So if you were to put something in, a massive geoglyph on the ground like these that span 100 plus feet, you could see them as a clear marking from the air. Now from space, I don't know, unless you've got some sweet satellites, obviously, but if you're in a plane and you're up several thousand feet, this would be a great marker. But if you look at the similarities, man, look at this rock. It's very like volcanic-y, right? And these, here's another one. That's what it looks like from above. I would hope that this person checks this area out because maybe they could connect some dots. A lot of the geoglyphs were destroyed out here by farmers and ranchers. And this is a really neat area. Might link with the Nazca lines in Peru. Back to you. Bernie, the science guy.
Wow.
He's standing up now. Campbell, what's going on?
Sorry.
Yeah,
he's on a different screen
that's
now.
Amazing, right?
I had to unmute.
Oh,
You're muted on that one that you're talking on now, buddy. Here, ask to unmute.
What?
There you go.
now I can hear.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand by.
Yeah, no, we can hear you. You can talk.
Can you hear me good?
Yes.
Yep.
Perfect.
He's even got his bear hat on for you there, Rex.
Right? Oh, and these hats, the guy, it's a good friend of mine that owns this company. It's Grassroots, California, but he's actually based out of Colorado. And he's got over 100 designs of hats with bears on them. So I'm going to figure something out that get you two together because you're a match made in heaven for sure.
Can you bear it?
Oh, man. Unbelievable. Right on. Cool. Well, so yeah, you want to go back to your screen and share your screen again?
So these are this is his website, and these are all the sites that he has already done the decoding on for the geoglyphs and mapped out. So we'll click on, for instance, the Yanaguni pyramids in Japan. Just a second to load here.
It's very similar to Michelle Gibson's work, this, isn't it?
Exactly, yes. And next meeting we have with Michelle, I am definitely going to bring this up for her to plug into hers.
She hasn't seen it at all?
I showed her just a little bit with you, I think, on our last one, Campbell, but I didn't go in depth with it. So here's with the Yanaguni structure, the Yanaguni pyramid, that's 400 feet underwater. He's applied the same geoglyph lines and markings to the actual carvings and angles within them, and this is how it plots out, and it's pretty intense that Yanaguni, an island underwater or a pyramid underwater, 400 feet underwater, so probably from the last cataclysm. And if you look at these spots that it maps out all the way to Hawaii, to the Kamacha Islands, to the Bering, that is literally, and to Korea or like around Korea, a little bit of China. That is the exact same World War II map that the Japanese did conquer at the height of their expansion in the Pacific Ocean. And how is it that an island underwater, or a pyramid underwater, has the exact same territorial markings as exactly what the Japanese Empire went for in World War II? That I just find absolutely fascinating.
Repeat that, please.
Sorry?
Please repeat that about the Japanese. So the Japanese were.
So this right here, this map right here, this is the territory held by Japan during World War II. And it's like they attacked Pearl Harbor, like they tried to get to Hawaii. They went all the way to Midway here. They were up by past Kampa in northern Siberia there. And it's like this map right here to Indochina is exactly the exact same radials that are plotted out by the geoglyphs on Yonaguni or Yonaguni structure that's 400 feet underwater. So there was a Japanese empire sometime before, like in the Atlantean time or something, that had the identical same territory as the Japanese did during World War II.
Why?
Exactly, right? Like, I wish I had those answers. I find them very fascinating, but yet here we are. That's what the evidence is proving. So,
I have
and
a
like
theory
you
on
said,
that.
Rex, how these geoglyphs are visible from the air, almost from space. Like this is underwater now. That's the coast of one of the Yonaguni Islands, and he's found these lost ones. Oh, sorry, off Taiwan. That you see, like this guy, his research, it's so next level, yet it's completely suppressed. Nobody knows about it, and it's insane. It redefines all of history, and it's megalithic evidence that when you plot it in, it's undeniable, and it's crazy. But I just love the opportunity to share it, and it's the fact that there's the Badlands Guardians in Alberta that on the Nazca lines, and it's the exact same system. And he did do the Nazca lines, actually. We'll go back here, and he plots the same geoglyphic information from the Nazca lines into his system, and it's all part of the same global empire system. And it's just that they will officially recognize Nazca, but they won't recognize any of these other sites, or really, I guess.
What's your theory, Rex?
So I don't even remember what we were talking about when I was about to say my theory. I'd have to go back.
The map in Yonaguni, World War II, Japanese and Yonaguni.
Thank you. So in World War II, it seems as if the Nazis were looking for relics and these, this ancient history, and there's probably more of a technological connection to it than just a what somebody would consider spiritual. So maybe the Japanese at that time knew about these areas that needed to be uncovered, and they wanted to get this secret technology. So that was one of the goals also during wartime, was to get that stuff in those areas, similar to what the Nazis are doing, similar to what the rumors are about what happened in Iraq and the Middle East and why we went there. One of the reasons, I mean, there were many, but that would, if this is correct about these maps and such, then they probably knew about these ancient megaliths. That's my theory.
That makes a lot of sense. I like that right there. That actually, right? And it's that because also it ties into how the Nazis were in Tibet before the start of the war and whatnot, looking for all of what was it, the Spear of Destiny and everything, and they took all of like the Tibetan knowledge books and whatnot. So there's a lot of validity to your theory right there, Rex.
Maybe.
So do all these points, do they all have like a defined region? So like Yonaguni had that map that was sort of had its outer boundary. So does the Badlands and these other glyph sites and region? Like we're looking at different, civilizations or kingdoms or whatever you want to call them.
Okay, yeah. So with that, it's that. So through this research, he shows that, like, for instance, those Badland Guardian ones, the Yonaguni ones, Also the Bosnian pyramid ones, that they were from a time that's pre Younger Dryas, because after 12,000 years, any of like the new geoglyph sites that were made, they're no longer representations or arrows plotting those sites out, yet they're still plotting to the most recent ones still make plots to Cairo, Egypt. They still make plots to Stonehenge and stuff like that. So he's been able to actually prove and date that Bosnian Pyramid, Yanaguni, and like some of these sites are at least 12,000 years old and aren't active after that time, but that there are other sites that are active and continue on for thousands of years after that, like in this Caraca, Peru, I believe, Corral, Peru. So these ones, right? So in this Corral one, 10,000-year-old mining site. So I guess that one was pretty old. But yeah, so it goes to like Cuba, to Mexico City, Panama, whatnot there. Oh yeah, so here's one. He shows that there must have been more land in Central America from this dip of a crater. Like there's just so much work that he's done. It's a research project all on its own, but fascinating,
isn't it?
Nice.
I mean, we know about the earthquake, so it's like almost at some point the vortex points or whatever in the ley lines have shifted for some of the points, and so they've been turned off, but other ones have stayed turned on. Probably like Yonaguni, because I was thinking, did they somehow tap into that power source? Did that, like, were they using whatever kind of energy, even real energy, to define or to give them more, power, whatever, kind of like the sphere of destiny kind of thing, except it's
like the plasma energy or the Antiquitech. That part we'll get into here. I'll stop sharing in like 5 minutes, Cambell, and I'll let you take the lead with showing like the star forts and the Earth grid stuff and all of that. So this is just this is the Bosnian pyramid site now, and it shows it goes to Tunis, it goes to the northern tip of British Isle, to the Bay of Nazarenes, southern tip of Russia. And it's like, how is it that the Bosnian pyramid, which is like 36,000 years old from like Sam's work, who the discoverer of it, as well as the Farham that dates it to be that old here, it shows it's at least 12,000, or it stopped being used 12,000 in the new glyphs. But how is it that also that this site, that something that was made a minimum of 12,000 years ago, goes to the southern tip of Russia? Today, it is the exact same territorial like definitions. And it's that this game has been going on, that whoever these controllers are playing is much, much older and what complex than any idea we are allowed to have.
Yeah, I know. Are we just in a big game of like Risk or something? What's going on here?
Rex, you're still there?
Yes, I am. And
yes, you are.
As you're going through all this, I want to thank everybody for being here with us. We're doing this live on the website, and I want to let everybody know to check out the website every single day, because we do live shows daily, totally free, and you can interact with the guests and you can ask questions. And I'm going to leave the link to this website. Let's kind of leave we've shown so much of this site. I don't want to show the whole site,
exactly,
just because I want people to go to their site and do the research themselves. But man, that is some wow. With the small amount of time that I had to process all that, I could definitely say he's on to something. Now I haven't looked at all those sites, and I can't say without a shadow of a doubt those are megalithic sites, dude, if half of them are right. But then that leads the question, why? Was that to get people from point A to point B? Was that like their way of seeing from not space, but from the air? Were they flying at 4, 5, 10, 15,000 feet elevation, and that's what they used to get to different points?
Right. Exactly. Global.
There was a guy in New Zealand, I've forgotten his name, and he used to track UFOs, and he worked out that they'd always go along the same trajectories. And he then lined them up to like energy grid lines, ley lines and things like, so it was like they were being powered and just moving along these natural energy lines. So that could be tied in somehow.
So using the earth energy to power the vehicles, brilliant, makes sense, not just a marker from point A to point B, but that's where they would have the superhighways because that's where their vehicles operated best.
Yeah.
And that's why we still see all the UFOs and plasma balls around the sacred sites and the ley lines today. And I know once Scratch tunes in and sees this, he will totally relate to that. And we need to get Scratch to send you his video, Rex, so you can show it. I don't know if you've ever heard about it, but he's got some of those plasma orbs because he lives right by Stonehenge that he actually caught video of the plasma orbs forming what do you call it? The crop circle.
Crop circles. Yeah, that's definitely tied into all this stuff, isn't it? Amazing how different the world now than 18 months ago. Like how much more possibility and how it just, we're seeing that it's a completely different realm than we thought it was, and we're only just really starting to discover where we are. And it's just happened so fast.
Yeah.
Get the turbos ready.
Exactly. And it's that disclosure is happening more and more. And it's that people are disclosing their own spirituality to themselves and getting out of the cog of being the machine every day, right? They've been able to like be trapped with themselves, that before, if you weren't comfortable with yourself where your life journey was going, well, now it's like, too bad, you got to deal with it. You can't just go plug in and be that ant in the ant farm anymore. And that's what really has been accelerating the Grand Awakening, I feel.
Yeah,
right on.
I think everything's going to plan for sure.
You know, it's like some people are so comfortable that this slow boil has been happening for a very long time. And unless something really shakes them up a bit or jolts them or just gets them off their, they're going to keep doing what they're doing. And with these recent power plays with the MFers, you know, the money funders that love us so much, and then they use their polls of ticks and their minions to, you know, pass these orders and such. So you guys, can we do something even a little bit different, if it's okay with you? Why don't we finish up this podcast and then just like automatically come back, so that way this one will be totally separate.
Okay, so leave and then come back in, or you'll So once again, this is the Farnham research site that I've put the link in several times. All of these different sites here, he has decoded and done the work on. That was the first half of me and Cambell's interview with Rex from about 4 months ago. I'm going to now share the second half for you guys because, well, there's 150 of you beautiful, lovely, amazing souls watching and following right now. So how could I stop such a wonderful thing? I love you all, and thank you for joining us. And I promise the second half has much more amazing Cambell
around them as well in these canals. And of course, these are everywhere. They're all over the earth. And the story is that they were built by the Italians and French between, I think, about 1550 and 1700. But they're everywhere. They're even in Australia, which wasn't, you know, found until 1788, or so they say. So these are basically, when you look at the shape of them, they're cymatic geometric shapes. They're always these have this geometry to them, and they always have water around them as well in these canals. And of course, water carries current.
And I have to point out that the amount of terraforming to make these is absolutely insane, and especially for the time frame that they claim that they were made.
Somebody leaves a comment in chat the other day that they're still without power, and then just great info, like the GPS coordinates and all that, and the research and these. These look like some of those areas that you had showed of megalithic civilization were underwater also. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, like the Yanaguni pyramids off Japan and stuff. It's so fascinating. And I'll send you the link that you can then put in the video for later for people to check out, because it's just next level and nobody knows about it. And it changes your whole perception about it.
Absolutely. And we're going to be talking about the Tartarian Empire as well. You've got autoDidactic.
That is correct. My Australian partner in crime researching Antiquitech, ancient civilizations, and Tartaria. And Tartaria is very fascinating because it's come out of, I first heard about it as a combination from Russia first, but the more you look into it, was wiped out right around before World War I, but it's on every single ancient map that's 100 years old or older. And the further back in time you go, the more land it takes up. And we were taught that there was nothing in Siberia or any of those areas. And yet on the maps, it's called Tartaria. It's got its own empire flag, and there's crazy amounts of cities that are on all of these maps. And you look at it today with GPS and it looks like bomb blasts. It looks like the exact same test zones of nuclear weapons and stuff like that, that it's like, what actually happened? And there's some sort of massive cover up. And even there's
this could be a multitude of podcasts, but here's some more geoglyphs and geolithology.
No wonder he didn't join, stupid Gmail. Put it in drafts and didn't send. Sorry. Sorry, Campbell. He will now be joining any moment, I'm guessing.
He's like, hurry up, you dipshits. I've been waiting here for 20 minutes. All righty here.
My bad.
Oops. This is kind of cool.
Yeah, so it's that he's been able to take those sort of lines and figure them out at every other site pretty much in the world. And yeah, I'll let you show some here and talk for a sec while I pick up the phone of my...
No worries. All right, is BurnEye there?
He is. He's got a phone call from his girlfriend. So talk about the FAR-M Foundation, and we're looking at some of the
Australia, which wasn't, found until 1788 or so they say. So these are basically, when you look at the shape, they're cymatic geometric shapes. They're always, these have this geometry to them, and they always have water around them as well in these canals. And of course, water carries current. So there's another one. Where?
Yeah.
This one, I'm actually not sure.
The ones that are remaining cities are usually in Germany or Denmark, Holland.
Yeah, sort of Northern Europe sort of area is where the best ones are. There's a few good ones in the USA. I think Fort McHenry and a few like that. But they're all the same. And they've always got, this one's been sort of built over in the middle, because it's always geometry in the middle as well. And they've normally got a citadel, which is either a square, a pentagram, a hexagon, or an octagon. But they're just all the same kind of thing. But you can see this one is, what's that, octagon. So that, this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-sided. Yep, eight pointed. And you can see this one's even got another 8-pointed star underneath it that's been turned half a turn. Can you see that?
Yeah.
And they're we have square citadel. Actually, I think it's been turned into housing, but I was so this is just a map to show these have been around for forever, basically, and they're all. This is how they're designed, just all on geometry.
And I have to point out that the amount of terraforming to make these is absolutely insane, and especially for the time frame that they claim that they were made. Like, how in like God's earth would you move all of that with a couple people and horses? Like, it's impossible, because it's like you're literally moving mountains, like literally moving mountains when making these.
It is, and you can see, you know, just the height here, how built up they are. And now when we see them, they're all on mounds, so we know there's a lot more under the ground. And they're full of old, you know, cathedrals. Here's a cathedral with the cross. Buildings, which we see everywhere. Here's another one, 5-pointer. And as you can see, it's 5-point inside. So that they're all based on, you know, if it's a 5-pointer, then it'll be like, everything will be sort of 5-pointed and pentagons and things like that. Or if it's 8-sided, it'll be octagons. And they're not all, they have satellites. This is what we call like a satellite star. You can see this is even half a circle. So I'm not sure if that's got to do with magnetics, but they're all basically there's just geometry. This is a citadel. So this is the inside of one of the star forts. And it looks, there's another one. This one that someone's just built their house inside it. So must be pretty good, you know, energy in there for the crops and the animals. There's another one. And I've got, so you can see they're just all.
Right, and like that's insane amount of terraforming between the moats, the amount of land, the leveling that you have to do to be able to have those moats working. Like, it's not, there's no explanation or like validity in the story that we are told on the creation of these. Exactly,
yeah. This is all man-made, canals and things. And you can see this is, 4-pointer, and then they've gone to the 4 with the circles. And we often see these sort of arrows that are pointing in a certain direction. And you can see it's got one up there, another one there, and then a bigger one there. And you can see it's sort of bursting out this way. You know, like the energy, it sort of looks like it's bursting that way.
And you made a great point at the beginning that it's cymatic frequencies. Like, there's literal cymatic frequencies that match the exact patterns to the majority of these bigger ones. So it is energy. They're built in a higher dimensional energy pattern.
Definitely. So, and this one you might recognize.
Pentagon.
Yeah, exactly right.
20th anniversary.
That's the that's the Star Fort Citadel.
Zoom in on that.
So them claiming that they built that, it's like chances are it actually existed to some degree, like at least the terraforming around it before they got
or the center.
Yeah, I was looking at that too, right?
Yeah, no, that's interesting. So now here's another very I get mixed emotions about this. I'm just going to say it real quick. Like, America, I think if America falls as far as the Constitution and what they uphold, it's going to be really scary for the world. Yet at the same time, I look at some of the wars that America's already been through, and most of them we hadn't, in my opinion, we shouldn't have been there anyway, right? So did they take this area of what was a sacred site of a star fort and build over it with this Pentagon? And is it housing a entity?
Yeah,
exactly.
And an energy node too, right? Like, it's in those ancient ley line alignments that it's one of those spots.
Yep. And even if you look at this, when you look at the aerial view of Washington, that's what it looks like. It's got a massive pyramid in there that goes out, and you've got the White House and the monument and things. So they basically take over these old sacred sites because they're built on energy points, and they, as we know, they invert everything. They change it around to try and change the energy, which is really changing the way that we perceive it. And so that changes the energy that we give to it, and that changes the energy, right? You know, because we're the creators, of course.
Right. So
And
one thing I have to
creation.
point out with that's so crucial, that like has always baffled my mind, for instance, is Isis. Isis was the most sacred name, like this worshipped holy goddess for tens of thousands of years. And then just like that, the flick of a second, all of humanity now turned that into fear and terrorism, the exact opposite energy and focus point sort of thing, right? So that ties exactly into what you're saying, Cambell.
Exactly. It's the whole thing. You know, cathedrals used to be for healing from within, and now it's all about, you know, outside worshiping, you know, false statues and all this kind of thing. Their education, they take over all, you know, all the schools and universities. They're all old world buildings, and so they change that into indoctrination instead of, you know, education, you know, what to think instead of how to think. So it's the same story everywhere. It's all inversion. Now I'll just get onto the next file. One tick, I'll stop sharing that screen.
As the mainstream media stokes fear and division, and the government tells us what we must do, who we can see, and even where we can go, behind the scenes, a sinister plan is now being rolled out across, buried on page 314 of a document from the desk.
One minute, I've got some more pics here. So yeah, this one. So we'll go into frequencies.
Yeah, I love Isis, Queen of Heaven.
Yeah.
You ever wonder if
heaven, Queen of Heaven, to terrorists?
They
Also,
deal with everything.
You know, you were talking about the Freemasons, and at the higher levels, there's a worship of Lucifer, which is Venus, which is connected to Inanna or Ishtar, Eastern Star. So then you have to ask yourselves, the Vatican had a huge influence in the Bible as we know it, as most people know it. And a lot of the terminology that was written in there, like what do they have that they flipped around, right? Was it
spell casting?
Yep.
Spelling, right?
Yeah, spelling. Back in the 1300s, there was a thing called the Great Vowel Shift, where they literally took vowels out of our you know, alphabet. And alphabet, of course, just means A, B, right? Alpha and beta. So they've literally changed the sounds that we make, which is frequency. Right, which is exactly what we're talking about. This is just a random pick of domes, because domes and, you know, ether energy.
And it's an example of Antiquitech.
Antiquitech, yeah.
Looks
So
like
you can see there's dome
with
domes inside. This is like a bell-free, they call them now. And our theory is because they used to have bells, now they don't. And of course, bells give frequency, and then they go down, and we have all these. Let me get to the next one. So this is an oscillator, I believe they're called, and this is someone who plays music. He makes different dance music and stuff and plays it through this machine. And so this is literally looking at a frequency. This is an expression of a certain frequency, and of course that's exactly what we see in stars. And even to the point, I mean, it's a moving image, but you can see even to the point that it's you know, like the fractal stacking, where they have the same shape stacked on top of itself. And there's another one. And so this is why we're linking star forts with frequency. And we see this a lot, this kind of rounded shape. And so literally what star forts, this looks like the citadels, you know, the octagon or whatever. What they look like is they're built on certain, you know, energy nodal points, shall we say, which give out a natural frequency, and they're just matching the frequency. You know, they're just making the frequency in the 3D physical world, you know, and then which I guess magnifies the frequency up.
Yeah,
and
it's energy harvesting, right? And that in the center of each one is, like, for the ones that are remaining, haven't been torn down, are these grand cathedrals.
Yeah.
And it's a cathode and anode. There's a dipole on the, and I don't know if you have the pictures to show, and we'll go into it, on the atmospheric electricity that in these ancient French and German science books, showing the actual, that they were aware of, and they were harvesting these energy potential differences in the top of the tower to the bottom, and that those domes, they're actual resonator domes, they're actual capacitors. Like, this is physics, this is higher dimensional engineering I'm speaking in terms of, that it's made of silver, it's made of copper, it's made of these magnetic electrical materials, and layered in actual ways that is a design of an actual functioning energy capacitor, and that they're placed and built, the buildings made out of like silica and other energy resonating materials, and that they've now discovered that bricks are also can be turned into batteries, so that these ancient architectures are actually higher dimensional technology energy harvesting buildings. Like, it's actually mind-blowing when you get the real science and understanding of what you're looking at.
And you can just see in this one all the different, you know, they're not just domes, they've got all these different workings inside them, and even something that's called a drum, you know.
Yeah, and it's those are radio guides and waveguide generators and stuff. The actual patterns that they are, you can take and map it, and with an identical, like, computer processor, as well as like these chips and these different capacitors, and it's the exact same material, the exact same designs, and that it's from what you're using in your computer, the microchip. It's just the identical thing built on a macro scale.
Exactly, yeah. And this, of course, is inside a cathedral, and you can see just these shapes, right? These are the shapes that we see. We just saw literally in those, you know, in these types of things, you know, with the rounded edges and that. And so these are all also, I mean, these are newer ones. They're not the old traditional ones. There you go. And this is also linked to crop circles. And Bernard mentioned before, and there's also video of these white orbs that spin around in fields and then disappear, and they leave behind these crop circles. So is this literally, you know, are those orbs just energy that we're seeing? And this is literally the expression of energy coming up through the earth, and that's what it creates.
Right? There's just so many fascinating possibilities. It truly is mind-boggling.
There's just so many connections, as you know, as far as shapes and fractals. I mean, look at these shapes here, right? You see these all over cathedrals.
Exactly.
Right.
I'm pulling up right now, and I invited Michelle Gibson. She was busy, so we'll do another one with Cambell, myself, and Michelle Rex in the future, where we've been doing a joint project, and I pull out the hydrogen wave function actual from the Sapphire project, like real high level cutting edge science, and you're matching identical patterns that are real frequencies that are full cymatic frequencies of the solfeggios and stuff like that, that are then identical to the base formation of hydrogen, the atom that is the structure of everything, and that it's then the exact same thing that is in the windows of these cathedrals that are the waveguide replicator or magnifier, and that the key, the frequency, the cymatic frequency, is the exact same as one of the tones on the organ. So it's that the organ music is the exact same frequency and shape as the hydrogen creation, and that it all ties into one giant, massive replicating technology structure that is way more advanced than we give it credit or even try to understand.
Exactly. So these are musical notes expressed. I believe this is through water, and they've photographed it, but But this is literally looking at the musical notes, and of course, you know, same design, same geometry, but these literally look like the windows, right? The stained glass windows we see.
Yeah, and see, that's CP2. So those are notes, actual notes that are keys on the organs within those cathedrals that are then the exact same 2D frequency that are the windows. Like, it's the complexity and what that actually means it's mind-bending.
Exactly. And there's even a lady who goes out and she records the silence in cathedrals, and she sits there, she records the silence, and then she does it again, but she plays back her recording of the silence while she's recording the second one, and she does that 7 times, and she ends up with a frequency.
Wow.
She ends up recording a frequency, and it's the frequency of the cathedral.
That's cool.
Here's a few more. So this is literally frequency, sound, you know, the expression of sound. And also, if you've looked into Dr. Emoto's work, where he freezes ice crystals, very, very similar, but he's putting in thought energy. He's putting in intention rather than sound. But it's all a frequency. It's just a different expression, right? One's sound, one's, you know, electric energy, whatever you want to call it, one's vibration. Of course, we see, you know, these, you know, massive machines. And of course, you know, those who want to rule us, they go to these buildings first, right, and take them over, because they're like they're Freemasonry. Now, this is Fort Jefferson. This is in the Florida Keys, 200 miles off the coast, and it's the largest red brick building in the United States of America. And as you can see, this is one of those frequencies.
And it's like, how like their story of, we built this 200 years ago when there was no infrastructure. It's literally 200 miles off the coast, and the largest, like, how did you get the bricks there? How did you build out an island? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, some of the stories, they say it was the boats dumping their, what do they call it, where they carry bricks as weight? I've forgotten now, but I mean, come on. But also, this has got it's in the ocean, and it's got like a moat built around it. And the other thing, and because there's lots of these are like this, just like islands or in the water, in the ocean. Now, they tell us it's a fort. Now, if you're trying to attack the United States in boats and you're coming up and you see a fort, what do you think you'd do? I mean, I know what I'd do. I'd just sail around it.
Right? Just not come within firing range?
Exactly. Just far enough so they can't actually hit you. So it doesn't make any sense at all. And this is, you know, this is obviously Indian.
They're the music notes of the earth.
Exactly. Yeah. Resonant
exactly.
Frequencies.
And everything's expressed. This is the same kind of geometry, you know, coming from the Vedic cultures and Indian kind of stuff. Here we go. So these are some of the cathedral windows, the original ones. You know, before, now a lot of them are replaced, you know, and they show the little pictures and stuff, but this is what they were. And this is literally an expression of a frequency. So the organ in this cathedral would be tuned to these frequencies. And that would also be tied into the bells, because of course they all used to have bells. They got taken out in the Second World War pretty much. And it's not the best picture, but you can see up here, you know, all this stuff, which is what we call antiquitech, all these little bits coming off it. They're all antennas and things, and ways to draw ethereal energy, you know, free energy.
Yeah, atmospheric energy out of the, and it's that real science. You can actually produce free electricity, and this is part of what Tesla was doing, is the differential between the top of the spire to the ground actually creates an electrical differential that you then connect to another wire that goes into the ground, your grounding, and that this is your 3-phase electricity. You put that into as the third phase in your circuit, and then you have a bell ringing circuit with the vacuum tubes, the glass tubes, like your fluorescent lighting and stuff, and that actually produces plasma electricity out of the air. It's real technology. These things actually function producing electricity. It's crazy.
And this window here, this is, what's this, Bernie?
A sound wave guide, and they built these in computer chips, like literally
and
silicon
as well. This bit, isn't that?
Yeah, like that's an actual radio guide, antenna, sound wave antenna. That's what it is.
And of course, we've got all the geometry here again. And of course, now we see all this stuff, but this is added. All these statues are added afterwards, as far as we can tell. That that's the facading, but all of this geometry that's behind it and actually built into the building is part of the structure. And you can, look at the work that's gone into that. And they tell us it's all just for the the worship and the glory of God. Well, what's the glory of God, right? What were they worshiping? What we know, right? Electricity, maybe. So let me just I'll just stop sharing for a tick and bring up one more file. Okay, so these are called monstrances. Okay, and these we're told they're religious, artifacts or whatever, but this is a monstrance. And just to start with, look how similar that is to the top of a cathedral, literally with the geometry and everything built in.
And the zodiacal clock, the constellations.
Down here.
Star of David. Wow.
Star of David. Yep, everything.
Which the Star of David represents so many more things than what, it could be infinite possibilities, but the as above, so below, the feminine, the masculine, there's many levels to that.
The Merkaba.
It's also the shape of the structure of the universe. It's the shape of the hydrogen atom and the functionality of the structure of physical matter.
Ooh. Now that's deep. His name's Bernie, the science guy.
Thing you'll see everywhere is these balls
filled with mercury.
Filled with mercury. We've actually got some photos and where someone's cracked them and there was mercury in there. Now with these monstrances, they all have this glass container. It's like it's just like two bits of glass with a void in, and that's normally where they put the sacrament, which is the body of Christ and all this kind of stuff. But if we've got pictures of older ones, here's the middle. Look how intricate that thing is. But the older ones, we've got pictures of them and they've got red stuff in here. Okay.
Can you go back to that one before, please? Before that, the one right before that.
Oh, before?
Yeah, one more.
That one.
Yes, let's look at this for a minute. Wow. That to me reminds me of a cell tower. It reminds me of a communications tower. And it looks like it has coils. Those look like coils.
They are. Like, that's why it's called Antiquitech. Like, this is that is like a well-designed piece of ancient technology that we have just been lied to about its purpose, and we're just coming up to the same understanding of science to figure out that there's functionality to all of this.
Now, where is this at? This one?
I'm not sure. Most of them, these old ones, they're mainly, in like Vatican City and stuff, locked away in museums, but they do use, the replica type ones today. They still make them.
But that's a
but
good
the older
point.
the further you go back, the more intricate and the more like machines they start to look like.
Yeah, it's the World War II, the Nazis, they took a whole bunch of those. So back to our previous conversation there, Rex, where you're talking about the Nazis going for ancient technology. This is one of the things that they actually like went out of their way to get a bunch of, and that have been missing ever since.
They tell us it's all about the spear of destiny and these, things that no one's ever seen or doesn't really know, but they were just cleaning out the old tech. And because did you know that monstrances existed? I mean, I didn't before I found the topic. So all this stuff that we didn't even know existed is what was stolen. And if you look at this as well, it clearly looks like a cathedral. And this is, like a handheld miniature version. So you can imagine if cathedrals were healing centers where people went to, get their vibration right and to get healed, this could be a mini one. This could be, the origin of priests going out and seeing people and having congregations. People who couldn't get into the cathedral, they just took one of these out and healed them with this. For all we know, right?
Yeah, and all the synchronicities we're having right now. So I was just in the Grand Canyon with my friends Jared Murphy and Shondell, and Jared Murphy is a believer of a high-level civilization, not aliens, tens of thousands of years ago that were super advanced. And we were talking about like the relics that we see today, a lot of these antiques and these religious relics that are sacred, right? And it seems as if the majority of what we're looking at is a replica of something that was an actual technology that was more than a mental worship point. And you can do mind over matter quite a bit. The mind is extremely powerful. It's the most, but my point is, that's a whole other podcast. These technologies were acting at a physical level also. They were physically interacting, and like you're looking at the Jed Tower here and the connections. Wow.
Exactly. It was the tech. And that's why it was replicated, because as it was lost after, catastrophes and that, some people had the knowledge of what they had before, and it was just replicated, this is what it looked like, and they became the symbols. But now we're told it's all, spiritual and for God, right? But it was a lot more practical than we're told.
Or it's aliens.
Clearly. Or aliens. And just on that point of the monstrances, there's another one. And them having red, I've lost all my pictures now, having red, I have to go back, like red liquid found in some of them, in these centerpieces. Some of these, they actually have like what look like a vacuum tube instead of a round piece. Now, what's the other thing that they do at church, right? They have the body of Christ, but they also have the blood of Christ, right? And we found the mercury in the balls. Now, have you heard of red mercury, Rex?
Yeah.
Yep.
I haven't.
Oh, so,
no.
Sorry, you haven't?
No.
No.
Oh my.
Oh gosh.
Hey man, I'm not a crazy alchemy guy. I'm a crazy conspiracy guy. All right.
Fair enough. So red mercury is essentially plasma mercury, and that's where you get your anti-gravity stuff from. I'll bring up some evidence with that tomorrow night with alien scientists, because he'll be able to lead into that a lot more on the anti-gravity technologies and stuff like that. So we'll cover it then. But so basically it's plasma state mercury. So that's when you're going to be getting your effects of some sort of anti-gravity, over unity electricity, possibilities of just higher energy technologies when you're dealing with red mercury.
It's sort of half here and half in another realm, to the point where it's called vampire blood, because it doesn't reflect in a mirror. You can put it in a glass vial, and you hold the vial up to a mirror and the vial looks empty. And it also is repelled. And this is serious. And I'll
actual videos of
the
this.
video. We've got footage. It's repelled by garlic and attracted to gold.
Dude.
Right?
Wow.
Like, it's crazy.
Okay. So just as a side topic, just a theory, if the red stuff in here was, what we're told, and they're calling now the blood of Christ, right? What's the blood of Christ? I mean, blood, right? We have a circulatory system. That's where our blood runs, right? It's a circuit, right? So now we're back to energy and electricity and circuits. So is that just, it's like we said before, they changed the symbols. If they just change, it's the body of Christ, when it was actually technology that was doing something. you put the body of Christ in here, and blah, you know,
That's
you get the
really
glory
good
of
point.
God. You know, you get the glory of God, which we can see bursting out here.
And that would explain, like, if someone found one that's still from like the previous civilization that still had active plasma mercury in it, it would probably activate that device.
Work.
And then that explains, oh, it's through God. It's the blood of Christ.
Exactly. Good
Right?
point. So just random ones that were found that were still activated, someone finds them and it's like, oh,
it's a miracle. We
religious-
found
yeah, it's
the
a
blood
miracle.
of Christ. It's activated, you know, like look at the energy coming out of it. It's Jesus. Hallelujah. Right? Like that makes perfect sense.
And this is just to show you all the, you know, the Egyptian glyphs and that we see, you know, they're all based on geometry and all based on tech. You know?
It's blueprints. They're blueprints to advanced lost technology. And there's another channel, obviously don't have time to go in it tonight, but that literally deciphers the ancient Egyptian glyphs into the understanding of magnetics and electromagnetics, and that it's talking in magnetic field force interactions, and that's what the language actually is speaking.
And even things like this, basically the wings seem to represent electricity, and you can see this is almost like a spark gap, and we've got the two towers, you know, with these on them. You know, so is this just a representation again of some device that was creating energy? We've got the mercury balls here, you know, and everything's just been changed, right? It's just all allegory, right? It's all, and look at this, you know, this is, you know, these used to be on the top of all the power poles, right? When we were kids, right?
Exactly. So, like,
and all it is they just represent things differently, because they were using a language where you know, you could come from any country, but you could see the symbols. It's like we're getting back to it today, right? It's like if you see a square, a blue square with a white F in it, that means something, right? And it doesn't just mean Facebook. To someone it means Facebook. To someone it means, you know, that's where my group or my page is. To someone it means that's where I share info. To someone it means something else. That's where I play games. So same with these hieroglyphs, right? Depending on how you know to read them, that might mean place to heal, and to someone else it might be the designs of how to build that, how it actually works.
Exactly. It's totally the instructions. Like, that's an instruction manual on how this technology works, like, guaranteed.
He's even having a toast. There's another one. The Ankh, of course, definitely in there. There's another monstrance. I mean, so that's just, you can imagine, you know, red mercury, the body or the blood of Christ, if they want to call it that. And then these are all antennas drawing energy down, you know, into this central part, you know, to activate it, and then the glory of God, you know, who knows, right? And of course they hide all this, you know, they don't want us to know that we used to have free energy and free, you know, frequency healing and all this stuff, because as you know, they like their power, and to them, you know, a good way for power is money. So then they change, you know, these natural healing centers that run off, you know, the ether and natural energy, they change them to Rockefeller medicine, right? And hence, you know, look around today. And then they tell us, oh no, you know, there was never free energy. You've got to pay us for it. You know, so that they go around and they smash it all. They take all the bells out. They steal all the antiquitech. So we don't know that it even existed. So we can't even, you know, we're not even complaining, give it back, because we don't even know that we lost it. You know, and this is, you know, an old motor. This is just a simple old magnetic motor.
And they're everywhere. And it's like the book burnings were to erase the advanced technology that there was. Like, do you have any of the pictures of those French or German atmospheric electricity diagrams handy, or we'll have to do that on another?
I don't think so.
Yeah, we'll do that on another podcast. But it's like chapters of electricity in Old German and Old French. So clearly that's probably what World War I and World War II were wiping out the leftover advanced civilization of Tartaria and their Antiquitech and all of that before. And then the book burnings and whatnot. No, that wasn't to destroy an idol or a belief. That was to destroy the knowledge of advanced technology. And as well, you have Europe was in the Dark Ages. Yeah, the rest of the world, especially the Muslim world, was in their golden age. They had free energy, free light, like everything. Like they were powered places.
And why is it called the Dark Ages, right? They took the free
electricity
energy away
from us.
No more
So
light.
how long ago are you saying you believe there was free energy, golden age for the Muslim faith?
Probably about 500 years at least. And it's that chances are the time of like the Greeks and stuff like 2000 years ago was when it would have been like a global sort of thing. And then something happened. There was some sort of reset. And then there was another reset, like a smaller reset around the 16 or 17, maybe even 1500s when the whole Columbus story happened. Sometime around then was the fall of the last one. And
about 1300s,
yeah.
But there's also massive problems with the timeline, so that's a whole nother story. But not as far back as we're talking, not thousands of years, within 1,000 years. And then something natural happened, and then basically while the world was recovering and all smashed up, the infiltrators came in, and the whisperers, as I like to call them, and they just basically started turning people against each other, destroying all the info or keeping it for themselves. And here we are.
And Rex, I know how you're feeling right now, because I went through that exact same rejection when this information was first put to me. It's like, what? No, like it's just impossible.
No, time out. No, I'm not thinking that at all. Like this, I've heard so much before. This is really nothing that's like making me go, am I where I think I am? Am I in the Matrix? It's fascinating.
Okay, well, that was my personal experience. The first time I was exposed to it, I was like, this is freaking impossible. Like, but it's like, the more I got into it, the more research every day. It is so hidden in plain sight. It is ridiculous. And it was not that long ago. Like the robber barons that came over, they were robbing, and they were barons that raped and pillaged and destroyed, took over whatever civilization was here not that long ago. And that's why there are these pyramids all throughout North America, these leftover cities and stuff like that. And that it was already there. And there's a lot of evidence too, like the train tracks across North America, but also across Siberia. The oldest pictures, it looks like they're being dug out. They're not that they're being built, but like it looks like they're being dug out.
And you look at the time frames and the technology and how much and how fast they were building all these old buildings, and the story for many of them, massive, like huge buildings. And if you're talking World's Fairs, like things that cover acres for one building, and they tell us it was built in a year or two, back in the 1800s when there was no tech, no roads, horse and cart. So it's just a big thing.
And they built them for 2 years only to destroy them, right? Like there's so many of these churches,
they knock them over.
It's crazy. Like the more you look into it, there's some sort of absolute massive cover-up that it's mind-blowing.
And just think, we've all seen these old buildings and how superior they are to these, square, bits of crap that they build today. And in every city, they've gone in and they've destroyed these old buildings and replaced them with these crappy square things that you need to heat and cool, and they're not good for you. And, why would they do that? But holy hand grenade, right? What if this is a mercury ball and this is an antenna? Could be like a Wi-Fi device, right?
Exactly.
But we just told no, it's not. It's not a Wi-Fi device. It's a what is it? A Mercus Globus? Is that right? Something Globus.
Worshipping false idols. It takes a whole new meaning.
And you can see, like, good time to say that, because you can see this is an old structure, but all these idols have been added. You know, this is all the stamp of whatever you want to call them, right? You know, the Phoenicians, the whatever, you know, whatever name you want to put on them. They put a facade on everything. They come and they find their Freemasonry, right? And they don't, you know, cities aren't founded, they're found. And they
It's
just
the
rebrand
date. It's the date of the facade, right? The new numbers. And why is it called a facade that is put on the outside? That is the date they built the facade on all of the big like World's Fair style buildings and whatnot that have that 1800 over here. The word, what does facade mean? It's got two meanings, and it's like that's the date the facade was put on that building, not the date that it was actually built from the ground up.
Exactly. And we've found that you go to any of these buildings, we haven't done all of them, but you know, ones where you find, you know, bits of the facade, you know, knocked off the corner, they're all red brick underneath, all of them. All these buildings. And as Bernie said, they've now come out saying that red bricks you can use as batteries, and specifically red bricks, and it's got to do with iron content in them. I mean, look at this, right? They tell us that's a pagoda. What do you think that is?
Looks like an electrical capacitor to me.
Or something that was attempting to mimic an electrical.
Could be either. It's not the best contrast, but all these, they're just so covered in all this intricate, you know, facading or artwork. But when you look at it, you know, break them down, they just look like little mini antennas and things like that. Whoops, what was that one? Just all these in.
And they're made of copper on like the domes and the sides of them, and then the actual structures, a lot of these ancient brick buildings, and they claim that the found where the steel, the iron going through it, like that's a new thing, that yet the oldest brick buildings going up to the actual domes that are made of metals, you have these iron connectors, and that it's actual the electrical wiring of these buildings and these technologies. And it's
like the strapping, you can still see it on the outside of some buildings, these sort of metal strap things that go down, you know. But again, you know, just technology. We've just been, and this is why they have the gatekeepers, right? Why they have archaeologists and things, you know, because you know, we silly humans, we're not allowed to look into the past, you know, we're not allowed to go and look at these sites. They're all off limits. Only archaeologists can go. But then only the ones that believe the narrative. If you go and you discover something and guys are all wrong, you'll lose your job and you'll never work again. You know, so it's gatekeeping. All these, you know, people with letters behind their names. And of course, it's become so blatantly obvious in the last year or so. They're all gatekeepers for information. You know, the medical establishment are gatekeepers against frequency healing and herbalism and things like that. And religion is gatekeeper against free energy, it looks like.
Spiritual energy too, right?
Spiritual, yeah, right. L, electricity, God.
Interesting.
That's just an old tower for some
reason. Zoom in on that one, will you?
Yeah, and it's that you'll see a lot of these Eiffel Tower-like buildings in the oldest of pictures, and they're everywhere, and they claim that, oh, the Eiffel Tower was just one, and then that there's like these intricate, crazy blueprints of other ones that like they must have been built, and there's like ones that look like they're pictures of them, and they claim that they're not actual pictures, but it's like, no, that was part of what the old world technology and the old electrical harvesting of atmospheric electricity, and it ties identically down to the same way of Nikola Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower. And Rex, I'll get you these pictures of the French and German science of harvesting electrical energy out of the atmosphere, and it's like they fully understood it, and we just are only beginning to get it. So it was wiped out. That understanding must have been wiped out sometime between the 15 and 1600s when those books were written, and then Nikola Tesla again at the turn of the century with his Wardenclyffe Tower.
So there you go. So that's the last pick there. I've got a couple more if you want to look at them, or how are we going?
Man,
Sure, why
this is
not?
fascinating. Actually,
Absolutely.
I must say this is above and beyond my expectations. This is super cool. And I'm just going to take it with an open mind, yet still be questioning everything. And some of these photos do look like, do have that resemblance of a possible technological device. But say that it was just how do I put it? It was a copy of a copy of a copy.
Representation. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. And that's a good point too, that it's like maybe there wasn't functioning copies or functioning understanding of it since the last reset, but it's definitely evidence that at some point in the past, there was a higher global civilization and technology, right? So,
oh yeah.
Who knows how you actively.
And I also want to say that absolutely. And I also want to say that this also makes much sense when you ask the question of why is the majority of music in 440 hertz versus 432? And the cathedrals and these religious and spiritual locations are often tuned to 432 hertz. And if everything is frequency at a specific level, if you can manipulate that frequency, then you can manipulate the rhythm. So to take it from 432 versus 440, from harmony to disharmony, and you can clearly tell the difference. You just put a guitar next to your chest and pull the strings at 432 versus 440, and it is an absolute physical difference. So it used to be the musicians, you remember back in the day, well, this is probably a little bit before your time, getting a CD. You go out and buy a CD. Like, oh man, this is my band. I got a CD now. And so much influence on our minds because we didn't have the internet to get into. We didn't have 1,000 channels and all this information. And now it's not, I mean, there's a few musicians out there that are extremely successful and have that global influence, but not like it used to be. And so you've got 5 corporations that control almost all the media. And by doing so, they control the narrative in the minds of the people. And once again, if you are embedded on the television set, it's going to have a hypnotic effect, and you're going to miss out on a lot of brilliant questions. You're not going to ask the right questions because you're going to be stuck in that trap. So I guess in finishing this, question everything, folks. Question everything and ask yourselves this question. If there's 5 or 6 corporations that control almost everything, and there's just a few corporations behind those corporations that are funding, and why would they push something on the news that they wouldn't want you to see? If they don't want you to see it, why is it going to be on the news? They control it. Exactly. So even when, oh, dude, did you, man, they're really messing up out there in Afghanistan. They want you to know that. Then they can throw you back and forth. It's like they have both sides. So they're pissing off anybody that watches the news, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or either. You're going to get pissed off. There's no step. You just keep watching it and you keep thinking, oh, I'm going to get the news. I'm going to get information that's valuable and important. And most of the conspiracy channels out there, they get information from these 5 corporations that get most of their information from one source.
Yeah.
Yep.
Think about that.
So one thing to add into what you're saying there, like Marilyn Manson, for instance, stopped making CDs and music, but what has he been doing? Oh, he's been making the soundtracks for movies. Why? Because he's paid way more and he's way more influential in creating, because he's an intense sound engineer, of making those sounds that do the subliminal messaging, that do the emotional fear state. And that's actual documented proof and evidence. And like, he takes credit for it. There's a video out there of him bragging about it, but it's like they're doing this evil influencing on it. And like my girlfriend Amber, who said, hello to both of you lovely people, but I will not sleep next to her after she watches a horror movie, because that night I'm getting beat up. She's shrieking, she's screaming, she's kicking, she's punching, she's scratching. She's living a trauma that movie has instilled on her, and they're doing it through these frequencies that are it's a higher dimensional science. It goes into the metaphysics. It goes into like whatever societies used to understand it. Some maybe still do in the most esoteric secret societies and whatnot and teachings around the world, but it's being it got classified as a military technology in the 50s, and it's been being used against us ever since.
Yeah, well, we've got those photos from back in World War One, and it's of these, they're weapons, but they look like big tubers. They look like big tubers, and so they pump out sound, and it's a weapon, and there's heaps of them, and they were using them in World War One. So there's so much out there that we just get so much taken away and hidden from us, and then whatever's left, we just get a watered down version so that we can't understand it properly, so that we don't ask questions. They don't want us obviously asking questions. That's what this is all about, and it's about, this all goes obviously further as far as, low energy is, obviously loose energy, and that's what they feed on, and they want to keep people down there. It's confused, fracture people's mental state, keep them confused so they can get in. When you're focused and you know who you are, you're standing, guard at the gates of your mind. When you're like, oh, what the hell's going on? They can just jump in, and like you said, Rex, they do that through the telly, right?
Yeah,
all
it's
the ads and all the news.
Lower state of lower vibrational state, right? When you're down in that fear or in that anger, you're emotionally impulsive, but you're not consciously thinking. When you're on that higher vibration, that higher conscious dimension, you're connecting up to your spiritual self, to the Akashic record, to like throughout the Christ consciousness, it's called as well. That's being on the higher vibration, and that's through love, light, happiness. And then when you're in that fear, in that sadness, that sorrow, you're on a low vibrational wave. And there's actual science that shows the different wavelengths of emotion. The higher vibrational thought waves are interacting with more spots on your DNA, and the lower emotional only hit it a couple of times. So that if you're in fear, if you're in anger, if you're in sorrow and sadness, you're not going to be yourself. You're giving away your free will essentially, and you're easily herd mentality moved and manipulated.
Basically.
And on that note, folks, be excellent to each other.
Yes,
exactly. You want to see and stay awesome. I
stole both of your ones. You stole it.
Oh. They're free, man. You can't steal it. It's yours.
Everyone's awesome.
Campbell, real quick, your website, your YouTube channel, and
Bernie. Like, did we choose to come here to get this sorted out, or is this just seems a little unfair, doesn't it? That we seem to be here, and there's this parasite messing up our experience.
And I know in my own life, the times that I've made major changes, it was like it became more painful not to change than to change. That was when I made big changes.
It's this whole ridiculous narrative of it's an unsafe world. There's not enough for you. It's scary. Everyone's out to get you, and clearly the old civilization was completely the opposite to that. It was all about empowerment, like literally.
Cosmic resonance, I think they called that one. Or
cosmic resonance, that's a better name.
Real science, you can actually produce free electricity, and this is part of what Tesla was doing, is the differential between the top of the spire to the ground actually creates an electrical differential that you then connect to another wire that goes into the ground, your grounding. Put that into the third phase in your circuit, and then you have a bell ringing circuit, and that actually produces plasma electricity out of the air. It's real technology. These things actually function producing electricity. It's crazy.
The movies are the truth and the news is the lies. They've completely flipped it.
When you look at everything with new eyes and you come across information like she was born into a very wealthy family with elite connections, it means something very different now to me than it would have even a few years ago. And it's our free will that they've really also messed with, because we've been lied to and we react based on lies. Just getting their independence and end up in civil wars for 20, 30 years happens a lot.
because we keep choosing to pick up the gun and use it on ourselves instead of building and uniting and accepting that we are one people, one spirit, one harmony on one plane that together, united, can achieve anything we dream of.
So do you want to, wake up, or do you want to just keep going along because the change is too difficult?
And then give them pieces of information that they will then pursue themselves and look into, and then they'll wake themselves up.
I was going to mention it's the whole red pill, blue pill of the Matrix. I mean, that of the movie. And you can consider that movie as a documentary because they're telling us something about what's happening here. So do you want to, wake up, or do you want to just keep going along because